Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well. And today I am joined once again by the chosen of Valhalla, my $25 and up patrons and Subscribe Star members. So first off, we've got the one and only Tina, my Valkyrie. Tina, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you. How are you today?
I am tired from hiking earlier, and my throat's not 100%, but otherwise... I'm doing fine. It's great to have these chats again because they're always fun. So thank you again for being on. Also, joining us once again is Rosetta Allen. Allen! What's up going on, Rosetta? How's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. Overall, just nature, action, as always. Going to be doing zoos and traveling this week, so
nice.
Having fun. Glad I get to actually see you.
Glad for you to be here. And Rosetta took an amazing photo the other day of, you said, the oldest bald eagle living right now?
She is listed as one of the 10 oldest eagles, not just bald, that's known to be in the world right now.
That is amazing. So if at any point you want to show that and you want to do like a screen share and show the image, I am fine with that because it's pretty beautiful.
If you want from the Twitter there.
It is pretty beautiful. We'll come back to that because that's definitely something that I think.
I don't know how to do that on Hangout very well.
I'll probably have to pull it up. And also joining me once again is someone who goes by many titles, but today she is easily the only modern Major General, and that is, of course, Laura, cynical centrist. How's it going, Laura?
Hello. Got the dog situated, so we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
And you're a modern Major General. Fun fact, I have never seen Pirates of Penzance. And so I'd heard that song before, and I'd heard that title before, but I just never really knew what it was. So finally I Googled it one day, and I was like, oh, I know this song. And look, it's Pirates of Penzance, the musical that my wife talks about all the time that I've never seen before.
I have never seen.
Yeah.
I've only seen like clips.
Yeah.
And I've heard selections from their operettas, but I don't think I've ever seen all the way through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's something that I think I'd want to see, especially with a song like Modern Major General with an amazing old dude singing fast.
I keep saying that, and I keep hearing the song in my head every time you say it. So.
Modern Major General. Modern Major General. Laura, what was that?
I'm a huge Kevin Kline fan, and he was in the Linda Ronstadt version.
When was that?
And it's a long time ago.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the best. You want to see Kevin Kline? He plays the Pirate King. So
okay.
Oh,
pretty awesome.
So was that the actual stage show, or was it a movie too?
It was a movie. Yeah, I think I don't know. Did Kevin Kline probably did musicals on Broadway and stuff, I would assume.
I didn't know there was a movie version, so that's good to know.
Yeah. Very good. Good. Hilarious. Yeah, I watched it with my daughter. She used to love musicals when we were little, so we watched all the silly musicals, you know.
Mm-hmm. I love
Music
musicals.
Man was her favorite. Yeah.
Music Man. That was a fun show. For those that don't know, who might be newer to the channel, I was actually in a production of Music Man this summer where I played Professor Harold Hill. And oh my goodness, Trouble is such a hard song to sing.
Yeah, I sent Stephanie a YouTube clip of when he sings Trouble in River City.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my God. And I was like, yeah.
Let me just say, I watched on loop the version with what's his name from the Orville, Seth MacFarlane. And he was my inspiration because he did it in concert once. And I was like, oh, that's fantastic. And he's got that nice deep voice as well. And it's wonderful. Catherine Darkstar over on DLive says the movie was in 1983. Damn. Okay. So talking about Pirates of Penzance, I guess.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the best version I've seen. Okay. I mean, I've seen several, but yeah, he did it as Peter Griffith as on the Family Guy too.
Oh, he did?
He did I can't remember what the situation was. He was a football player, and his touchdown celebration was. Oh no, it was Shapoopy.
It was Shapoopy. Yeah, same musical. That's right. It was Shapoopy.
Oh my god, that was
Shapoopy. Oh, I love it too. I love his musical style. I mean, I really just feel like if you're a musical fan, especially, you just appreciate it that much more.
I've got to catch up on the Orville. I saw like the first few episodes and fell in love with it, and I don't remember what happened. Something came up, and I lost track of it.
I finally was able to watch both seasons, and they're both great. I cannot wait for season 3, and I'm glad that it's getting. I hope that it being on Hulu now, doesn't change any of the dynamics, and that they don't try and make it more adult. I think that it's just the right balance where it is right now. So we shall indeed see, though.
Yes,
I love that ship design. It's just beautiful. The twin engines kind of twisted like that.
Yes.
No, everything about it.
That is the successor to Star Trek.
Yeah, pretty much.
Star Trek. Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, when you heard Gary talk about it every now and then, every day, it was like, okay, I have to watch this show. I have to watch it now. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad that he just talked, because I've watched that show now. I've watched Legion, and Legion just ended, and it came out like with a great ending, I would say. And it's like the kind of endings where you're like, yes, this makes sense. This works. There's no more questions.
What is Legion about? What's the subject of
Legion? It is actually based off of comics. And so Legion is actually a character, and it goes into kind of his background a bit. So it deals with mental illness, because there's a thought that he might just be crazy, that he might just have not multi-personality, but voices in his head. And you find out a little bit more about that. He's also got powers, though. And so it delves into the fact that he is also a telepath. And then you find out more about his background. So someone that did not read the comics, I had no idea who he was. So I don't really want to spoil it as far as his identity is concerned.
Right.
But it's not hard to find out. If you know anything about the comics, you'll know whose son and like who he's related to. But it was fascinating. It really was. And it was just one of those shows that I feel did everything. It did not tell stories in a linear way. And those are like love or hate for me, because I like a straightforward story, but this one is definitely circular sometimes, where you just go off and you're going between times and places, and you don't know what's going on, but it fits because of the mental illness aspect, because you're like, oh, so this guy's brain is all over the place too. And I think it actually ends up working more so than not. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel we don't give enough credit to people who adapt comic book stuff, because you have to please the hardcore fans, but then you've also got people who, I guess they call them normies, who have like no idea what's going on, like with Daredevil. The adaptation that they did for that, I mean, even if you don't know anything about that character, you get a really good sense of who he is very early on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think most of us would say that Netflix's Daredevil is probably one of the best comic adaptations for shows. And I mean, especially when you compare it to the movie with Ben Affleck, I mean, night and day.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's talk about what the difference in the hardcore nerds versus normies. I think with most of us, it's not that we necessarily have a problem with those who are normies, those who like it, whether it's true to the story or not. It's the ones that, well, this isn't the comic, so who cares? And dismiss those of us who have a problem, don't like it or something, as just being uptight or other things that gets irritating. Or the ones who try to fake that they're not normie, and they Google like 5 facts that could easily be disputed and try to act like they're an expert.
Yeah, no, I hear that for sure. And I think that that's something that a lot of us kind of, jump on, is that it's not necessarily who people are or who gets cast. It's what is the story going to be? Is it going to be good?
Right.
Is it going to be true to if there is source material, to the source material? And if it deviates, is it going to be justified in its deviation, right? Because we've seen stuff happen before where they deviate from source material, and sometimes it's done very well. But it's done well, and it's done with good characters and good development. So I think that that's definitely something that we have. And Bruce says that the window is too small to see. So just to reintroduce everybody. So right now I'm joined by my chosen Valhalla. So we've got Tina. We got the Valkyrie Tina. We got Rosetta Allen. And we've got the modern Major General cynical centrist Laura as well. So when you changed your name to that, I was just like, yes. I wanted to say that name over and over again.
It's so funny because in the play, he's such a goofy looking guy.
Yeah.
And then he starts singing, and you're like, okay, this guy's the boss. Look at him go.
It's like no one's
He just
going
kind
to
of
keep him
takes
down.
over the stage.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely. Oh, man, I love it. Force Ghost Jeremy, thank you so much for the $5 donation. Says, thank you so much for the movie code. Here's a token of my thanks. And Duck Fisney and YouTube. Well, thank you, Force Ghost Jeremy. And no problem at all, man. Absolutely. Hope you enjoyed the movie because I try giving away. So for those that don't know, so I do giveaways allegedly on Patreon. I definitely do giveaways on Subscribestar, though. I have to do that for legal reasons because Patreon is kind of trash when it comes to that. But I try to give away a UK code, and apparently there aren't a lot of UK people that are a part of the Patreon Subscribestar community. And so no one was claiming it. And the only comment was Laura was like, I like these instant giveaways, which I think I might do more of because it is, I think, more fun where it's like, first one to comment, you win this. And of course,
That was, yeah, especially because I'm online like all the time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I would never win those because I'm usually out in the woods somewhere or something.
that's why I wouldn't just do those. I do those like I'd probably do digital codes for instant giveaways, and then like the bigger ones I'd probably do as enter in and it'll be a random choice like normal. But I did the UK code, and of course you got to be in the UK in order to get it.
Right.
And so no one did, and so I went to Twitter and I was just like, all right, first one to comment from the UK gets it. And within like a second, Force Ghost Jeremy left the comment saying, me! And so he won it. It's so funny. It's so funny how Twitter works that way, though. It's just like people instantly, it's like, oh, free stuff? Yes. But I'm glad that you won, Force Ghost.
That's awesome. He's like mine.
And so he won a digital copy of, I believe it was The Karate Kid. So...
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because I'd gotten a steelbook of that, and I was like, oh, digital code. Tried putting it in. Error. Can't use this. Oh, it's from the UK. That's why.
It's from the UK.
And I'm like, really?
Do you know what's been tempting me lately to do, since I'm planning a package for you anyways to give away?
What's that?
Would be to order the Blu-ray collector's editions of a bunch of the crasser old comedies to give out just to offend the NPC culture. Like Yellowbeard and Blazing Saddles and all that kind of stuff, and just have you give those out.
Oh, trust me, like I've looked in because there's a lot of really classic films that are on sale, and I was trying to buy up a few of those, but you know we haven't been able because I was like, I really need to watch how the spending, because it wasn't until recently where I'm like, oh boy, we spent a lot to move up here. And I was like, I need to start being a little more careful. And so luckily, though, with PayPal, you can actually get a card. And so now I'm going to be able to start doing that because now I can charge the PayPal card. And so it just gets taken from PayPal and doesn't affect me at all. Because beforehand, I was paying for like shipping and everything. And you never really think about how that adds up over time, especially when you're shipping stuff overseas. And I was like, oh, yeah. I need to slow down a little bit, or at the very least now use the PayPal card instead. So
yeah, it's like that with us with super chats, where you get your statement, and you're like, oh my God.
I know, right? Because you're just like $2, $5, $2. Oh, it's not that much, and then you go, whoa! I didn't realize I spent that much.
Yeah, it's like time to get on a super chat budget.
I know, seriously.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lay out this amount of money, and I'm only gonna spend this much. And then one day you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna do it all once. Today's the day. Why not? And thank you so much for everyone watching. So I do have people watching over on DLive and on YouTube, and I'm very sorry if I'm not as active with the chat, but as you all know, it's because I want to make sure my chosen get a chance to talk about things they want to talk about. And so before we jump into the D23 news, let's talk just about movies in general. So Rosetta, what's the last movie you saw, and how was it?
Last movie I watched, let me think here a sec. Actually, thinking over the last few days, I think the last thing I rewatched was actually rewatching some of the old Star Trek movies.
Nice. Anyone in particular?
Basically all the old series ones.
Nice. I've actually never seen those.
Oh, what is wrong with you?
You've never seen Wrath of Khan, or
I've seen clips. They're the dogs.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Somebody please give me his geek card again.
Wait, you've seen parts of Wrath of Khan, but you did see Star Trek Into Darkness, which was an abomination of Wrath of Khan.
Let me put it this way: I've seen all of the JJ Star Trek.
Okay, I'm unsubbing.
Okay, I need his geek
I'm
card.
I'm unsubbing. Bye. Bye.
I'm done. I'm done. You haven't watched it.
Card.
Stephanie
Wow,
B.
Odin,
Stephanie
wow.
B. Why are you in the chat? Stephanie B comes in with geek card. Stephanie B, you're supposed to be in church. Get out. Get out of the chat. You're supposed to be in church.
What is wrong with you, Odin?
Oh, the chat's writing against me.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm so sorry. I've never, and this is going to be blasphemy too, I've never been into the old school Star Trek. I like Next Gen. I've been into Next Gen. I used to watch some Next Gen.
Next Gen, at least you get credit with, and you know, Generations and First Contact, Insurrection, that era was good.
Yeah.
And they're good movies.
Yeah.
But seriously, it's cerebralness. Yes, there's a cheese factor because it was done in the 60s as the starting point. And there was a certain style for how they did sci-fis back then. It's a bit cheesy today.
Okay.
But if you go past the cheese and Shatner's overacting, there's really great storylines and morals to everything.
Okay. Mark Krell says, the movie critic that never saw a movie. Yeah, it seems that way. It certainly seems that way.
You're like Rookie Critic.
Oh, God. I'm not as bad. I am not as bad as Rookie Critic. I mean, he hasn't seen, like, real, like, classics that's not just, like... Because I think we could all agree that Star Trek is definitely more of a niche audience. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cerebral, intelligent nerds.
But, like, he didn't see things like Rocky. Like, he hadn't seen things like Shawshank Redemption. Like, things that go beyond just certain fandoms, you know? And so I'm not as bad as him. And I stand by that. And anytime I get to badmouth Rookie Critic, I'm going to do it because he's a rookie and he needs to step up because he can't be a rookie forever. 70B says we got out at noon. Boops. Well, I'm glad to hear that you got out. I'm glad that you're not messaging me in church.
So you've never seen Wrath of Khan?
I've never seen the whole movie, no.
Oh, the whole movie.
Yeah, I've of course seen the clip of Khan. I've seen
but
that.
There's more to it than
Watch
that.
the movie and see if you can ever look at earwigs the same again.
I guarantee you Monday you'll have a copy of it in your,
I guarantee. I mean,
Yes.
if Bruce doesn't send it, someone else will. Because one time I got 2 copies because Bruce sent me. It was for Stargate because I'd never seen it. So he sent me the steelbook. Someone else sent me the steelbook, and so I ended up giving away the second steelbook that I got, and it was fun.
Well, at least you finally watched Stargate.
Yeah, I did, and I actually really did like Stargate.
Love Stargate, Star Wars, Star Trek. I love this old star stuff.
Anything with stars in it.
Oh, there's a lot more than that. But if I start getting into the obscure sci-fi books and movies and shows and stuff, people tend to zone out even in the nerd culture. So
my dogs are barking. River, stop.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I know. Because now there's windows that are their size, and so they can just, put their feet up and look out the window and, just growl at the neighbors like nice neighbors. But we do have a couple donations over on D-Live. So Captain Mr. Roy, thank you for 2 diamond donations, man. I appreciate those diamonds, bruv. And don't worry, one day we will get Tina over on D-Live, so that way she can see just how fun it really is.
Lemons, oranges, peaches.
There are no oranges and peaches, I tell you this.
Oh my god!
All right, so we got Star Trek from Rosetta Allen. Cool. Laura, what about you? What was the last thing you saw? Did you finally end up going to see? I forget the title, but the movie that you were going to go see.
Oh yeah, I go to the movies every weekend.
Nice.
So yeah, spent my 20s like raising a kid. So now I'm free and spending time doing what I want to do now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I saw Ready or Not, which was what you would think it would be.
But was it done well or not?
Yeah. Okay. Good. I don't really like slicer movies. I like horror, suspense, creepy movies.
Okay.
I hid my eyes a lot, but it was fun. And then last weekend I saw The Farewell.
And you said that you liked that one a lot.
Oh, I cried like a baby. Yeah, I went with my mother-in-law, and it's gonna work for like any age because Aquafina is, the millennials are gonna identify with her.
Mm-hmm.
There were characters in it my age, and the main character, the grandma, was my mother-in-law's age, so it kind of worked for everybody.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a movie that I've heard a lot more good things about than not. So I have a lot higher hopes for that than I did beforehand, because I saw just the critic scores and I saw the basic story and I was like, this just reminds me so much of what they did last year with another movie that seemed to be similar. But I'm glad to hear that this one apparently is not, and it's actually a well done film, and it got great acting in it. So I'm looking forward to that a lot for sure.
Oh yeah, warning, lots of subtitles obviously because a lot of it happens in China.
Okay,
But
all right,
yeah,
cool. Well,
some
hopefully
people don't like that.
Yeah, I don't mind it as much. I was trying to watch. There was a movie came out this year called Mirai or Mirai, Mriai, and I think it was the same group that did The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, because before the movie started, it had that image. So I don't know what company that is. And I tried watching it, but they only have subtitled versions. But the problem is with the subtitles, it's white on like light background, and so it was making my head go crazy. So I was only able to get through the first 20 minutes, and I was like, all right, I'm not that invested in this story because it's just this kid complaining about having a new baby daughter. I mean, a new baby sister. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can only hear this kid whine for so long before going insane. And so I was just like, yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah, Aquafina was my daughter and I watched Ocean's 8 together, and Aquafina was the only person I liked in that entire movie. So I'm glad to see her get some more dramatic roles because she always plays kind of a comedic shtick.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was fun to see what she could do with it.
Okay. Cool. And Tina, what have you seen recently?
Yesterday, I watched Fritz Lang's Woman in the Moon, which I hadn't seen in a long time. There's a film noir channel on YouTube.
It always gets classy. Whenever Tina answers a movie question, it's always like, let me go into the back catalog of just classic, classy movie. All right, continue, please. I love it. I love it, though.
Well, I can't remember the Noir Escapade. I think that's the name of his channel. And it looks like he loads up a lot of film noir, but then he has other movies too. But I got excited because about a week or so ago, I was like, oh my God, he's got Fritz Lang's Woman in the Moon. And I hadn't seen that in a while. So I looked at it yesterday and it made me cry just like it did the first time I saw it. And it's a science fiction movie that Lang did back during the silent era. Yeah, when he was in Germany. And it is the first movie which ever had a countdown before a rocket blast. It is credited with that. But it's about these German scientists that develop a rocket so that they can go to the moon. They're going to claim the moon for Germany. And of course, this was pre-Third Reich. And it has a love triangle. It has science, and some of the science has been disproven now. But the one really cool thing is that when the rocket blasts off, you actually see it breaking off in stages, just like rockets do. And the Nazis were so concerned during, I guess, World War II, they banned the movie because the way the rockets work in the movie were similar to, I think it was the V2 missiles that they were developing. So they were like, no, we'll have to ban this. And of course, at that point during World War II, Fritz Lang had already escaped Germany and had immigrated to the United States anyway. So
thank goodness.
Yes. Yeah, I just saw a video the other day about that Lang kind of exaggerate him escaping from Nazi Germany, and he did escape, but his story, he might have, kind of exaggerated it a little bit, but because he was kind of like, yeah, Goebbels called me in and said the Fuhrer wants to make you the head of films, and Lang tells them, well, I'm part Jewish, and Goebbels is like, oh, well, we decide who's Jewish. Lang claimed he left Germany the next day, but it looks like he might have waited a week or two. But
well, you got to pack, you can't just
pack.
go on the road.
Yeah, and he had to tell his Nazi wife, hey, Thea, I may be leaving. But anyway, Woman in the Moon was what I watched yesterday.
Nice. Well, that's cool.
I love movies that have like a historical context like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's one of those things where we don't get too many of those nowadays. And I feel like the ones that do have a story like that behind them end up being for like the wrong reasons. Like, for example, The Interview being pulled for theaters because of threats from North Korea. It's like, that's like the stuff that we're dealing with now. Or the movie recently, The Hunt. Getting pulled because of the backlash from that one. And so it's interesting because I want to actually see The Hunt because I want to see what it is. So, because I said that where I said I was torn when they made that announcement because I don't like movies getting censored, despite whatever it is it might be. But at the same time, too, it doesn't sound like a good movie that I would like, But I still kind of want to see it because I want to see, like, any time a film gets pulled like that, it's like, why? I want to dive into it, I want to find out what there is to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's going to get released. That it's going to get a DVD or Blu-ray release or something,
Well, that's like Ivan the Terrible by Eisenstein, who did Battleship Potemkin. When he started Ivan the Terrible, there were these hints. Well, Stalin was in power at the time, the Soviet Union. And you see these little hints of Eisenstein kind of striking back at Stalin. Well, by the time he did Ivan the Terrible Part 2, Stalin banned the movie completely. So it was like a decade or so before anyone saw it. Ivan the Terrible Part 3, there's like one scene and it's on YouTube because my nephew was like, where's Part 3? And I was like, it never existed. There's like this one clip of it. But Stalin put his foot down because he saw, okay, Eisenstein striking back against me. I can't allow this. So we're lucky we had the first two parts.
John Winkler says...
I'm sorry.
He says Joseph Stalin, American patriot. What?
What?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead with that. Laura, what were you saying?
I love Russian history. It was one of the areas I focused on when I was in school. It's so weird and fascinating.
I've never dove into it before, so I know so little about Russian history. I'm boring. I like the European history.
Yeah, I love English history, but I've started getting into Russian history, and I've watched a couple of documentaries over on like Amazon, but I can definitely see why you'd be interested in Russian history. It was insane.
Okay.
Especially Ivan the Terrible and Catherine the Great. If you focus on both of those, because they were, Catherine the Great was a ruler for so long. There's a lot of interesting stuff out there about her.
Oh yeah, I know.
And also, we got some confirmation. John Winkler says it's an EFAP reference. Well, I don't have 12 hours in my day to dedicate to an EFAP stream, as great as I'm sure they are, because I've only ever listened to maybe a few minutes of it because I jump in and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to go on forever. And I'm glad that they only do, once a week? Is that how often he does streams?
Yeah. And, I'll get the notification and then I'll come back 4 hours later and they're still talking. And it's like, oh, they're only 15 minutes into this, into this video they're reviewing.
I mean, it's a brilliant concept and people love it. I mean, they get a lot of people watching it. So kudos to them for it. But yeah. I'm just like, man, I couldn't imagine getting like a notification like, oh, gotta catch up with my 8 hours of content in a week. Got it. I can barely keep up with the content.
There's something heartbreaking about somebody taking a movie that you're like, hey, I really like that movie, and just destroying it frame by frame.
And you're watching it happen in real time. You're like, oh God.
Oh God. It's like, I didn't even notice that. Oh my God. I didn't notice that either. Oh.
And now every time you watch it again, you'll just think of the EFAP stream and be like, oh God. No, I can't watch this anymore. Now I'm just going to see every frame is just garbage, apparently.
So my wife is a lot like you, Odin, where
Yeah.
she's like super observant, and we'll be watching it, like The Walking Dead, and she's like, "Oh, that actress has a slight underbite," and then that's all I can see. It's like
Can't unsee it. It's like, oh, nope, it's there.
no. She'll do that. She'll be like, "That girl's bangs are longer on the left side." And I'm just like, "God damn it! Why?"
Now I can't unsee it. Thanks. Thanks,
Oh,
honey.
sorry for the-
Thanks, honey, for that. I appreciate it.
Sorry for the cursing. I forgot.
Oh, it's okay. It's all good. If that's the worst thing that's said
okay.
today, then we're in good shape.
Oh, okay.
Don't speak much.
That's why I just sit back and listen and say things that I know I'm not gonna have to worry about cursing.
Well, I know now she knows that it bothers me, so now before she does it, she'll go, "Hey, Laura." I'll be like, "What?" She's like, "That girl's eye is slightly higher than the other eye." She's like, "Why do you do this to me?"
Well, if you want me, I can ruin something for you if you haven't. I'm sure you've noticed this one already. Are you a Harry Potter fan at all?
Yeah.
In the early movies, pay attention to Daniel Radcliffe's eyes because he doesn't know how to blink correctly. He blinks one eye at a time. He does that.
What?
Yeah. He does one eye at a time. And there's a couple of scenes where it's very prominent and he's talking and you see one eye closes before the other. And it's the weirdest
Oh,
thing.
that's crazy.
And you can tell it's like he's a kid. He knows he's on camera, so he's still green, and so he's probably like he was nervous that day or something, and so his blinking was very nervous, and so it was weird because I'm used to like crazy blinking when you're nervous, but one eye closing before the other, I was like, this is just, and now I can't unsee it every time I see the first. Is like only in the first two movies, like which are definitely the more kids movies of them. You can see Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
Blinking one over the other, and it's hilarious to see.
Oh my goodness.
Now, because you said that, when I go back to watch Harry Potter movies, I'm going to be paying attention to that, and that's all I'll see.
Yep. And it's not because there's only so many scenes where it's just him for a long period of time without it being him and someone else. But yeah, when you see it, you see him explaining something, and it's got the two eyes, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's. And I was just looking around because I noticed it right away. And I'm like, does no one else notice this blinking going on right now? Like, what is this? What's going on? Is he okay? Was there like, and then I kept watching it because I'm like, I wonder if he's going to do this the whole time. And he didn't. So it was just in these certain scenes. But it's so funny. It's only the first two films where you see any of that happen. But yeah, you'll never unsee it now.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
No, I won't. Thank you, Odin.
You're welcome. Luckily, it's just the first two films, though. And then after that, he gets a little, more comfortable and doesn't have that weird thing. Sticky V says, isn't Radcliffe just constantly winking at Emma? That'd be a weird way to do it. Mid-wink. Like mid-wink, you're closing both your eyes, I guess. Okay. That's definitely one way to do it. For movies that I've been watching, I've actually been watching a lot of like old school films. So the wife and I, we watched A Knight's Tale a couple nights ago.
Oh my God.
And it had been a long time since I'd seen that. And it's one of my all-time favorites. I love Heath Ledger. And the whole time I was just so sad because I'm like, God, Heath Ledger, he's so young. He was early 20s when that movie came out.
Yeah.
And I was just like, God, the guy had so much talent. Even in a movie that most people would probably look at it and say, I don't understand it. I love it. It's just... You have a character named Jeffrey Chaucer, played by Paul Bettany, and you're just like, okay, yeah, sure, Jeffrey Chaucer's in this. Why not? And then it's like very, very, very loosely based on the Canterbury Tales because it's called A Knight's Tale, but it's really not. I mean, I love it though. It's so great.
Oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And a reference I didn't get until this time because this is the first time I think I'd ever watched it with Freya, and it was a part where there are characters named Peeta the Pardoner and Simon the Summoner. And apparently those are characters from one of the Canterbury Tales. And so the scene when Geoffrey Chaucer talks about getting revenge, he says, like, I'm going to evaporate you in fiction. It's like, I was naked for a day. You'll be naked for an eternity. And I never quite got that. And then I was like, what, is that a reference? He's like, oh yeah, those are two of the most like sleaziest characters in the Canterbury Tales. And I'm like, well, that makes so much more sense now. I get that reference.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I haven't seen that. My mom loved Knight's Tale. And
Mhm.
she was the one who told me, you've got to see it. And she was like, and don't be off put because they have modern music in it. Don't let that throw you off. And I was like, oh, okay. And I enjoyed it. I haven't read Canterbury Tales since I was in high school, maybe.
Mhm.
I think when I actually read that.
Yeah, I've actually never read all of the Canterbury Tales because obviously, like in high school,
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
read like a couple of them, but
Yes.
I never
Here.
read the whole. Now I kind of want to in a lot of ways because I wonder how many references are actually in that movie. Go on, Rosetta.
I'm trying to think about it. I think I read that around the same time I did To Kill a Mockingbird, which is way too young for either of those things.
But that's a
My
great.
brother taught me to read with Shakespearean poetry.
Oh,
I was reading most of these novels when I was like 7 to 10.
I wish I could have gotten into Shakespeare. I mentioned this to my students. Who writes an iambic pentameter anyway? Honestly, like who does that? I'll tell you who. Shakespeare, and he's crazy for doing it. I mean, like that's just like. And what's sad though is that they read Shakespeare, and all of them. And I mean, I'm not trying to call anybody out or anything, but none of them had ever heard of iambic pentameter.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's weird that y'all would read it but never talk about it. But then at the same time, too, I'm like, but you know what? Good. Because I learned it when I was younger, and I've never had to I've never had to use it again in my life other than it being a factoid about how he wrote, you know?
I actually don't remember things
Hmm.
as which type of poetry, and because I don't tend to see things in the numerical way that a lot of people do with poetry. So I just see it by how it flows from the tongue because I can hear it as I read. And so when people start talking about the I'm sitting there going, nope, I've studied it. I can't remember it for anything. I just know if it flows or if it sounds weird.
Yeah. And let's see. Alex McCarthy says he's been watching Stallone movies. Of course, Alex, you're always watching Stallone. I mean, seriously. Bruce says, still waiting to hear what you think of The Naked Prey. Still need to watch The Naked Prey because I am a bad Odin. Super says, also, question for everyone in the chat. I haven't seen a single episode or movie of Star Trek. Yes, I know. Any suggestions of where to start? Well, don't worry because I'm in the same boat as you are, only not nearly as green. But I've also never seen any of the original Star Trek movies. As we've already gone after me, this chat.
Yeah, I dropped him a couple of suggestions.
Yeah,
and burning in an effigy. Seriously.
I would suggest Super starting with the Next Generation, but that's just me because I like Next Gen over the originals. But I'm sure I would trust Tina because Tina knows a lot more about Star Trek than I do. As everyone in the chat now knows, I know nothing about Star Trek.
Original series, then start with Next Gen because both DS9 and Voyager tie into it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, I told him watch the first 2 seasons of the original series and look at Spacey because that's sort of a prequel to Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Watch Wrath of Khan and the Star Trek movies unless you've seen Space Seed.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's vital.
Nice. 70B says, what is on that t-shirt? If you mean mine, it's Ahsoka Tano. It's the most badass Jedi that we have in the in the extended canon outside of the movies. And we also have Christopher Mills saying, what did you think of 2001: A Space Odyssey? Loved it. The first time I ever saw it was actually last year, and I got to see it in IMAX, and it was brilliant. It was an amazing, and it's almost like I'm glad I hadn't seen it beforehand, because seeing it on the giant screen with the big IMAX sound, I was like, this is how I should see this, you know? Like, it's just, I was just amazed. I was blown away at how ahead of its time it really was. How the effects still hold up to this day when modern films can't even last a year with their effects looking good. This film has lasted, 30, 40, 50 years and has done so much better.
Yeah. It was a great movie.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely not something you can watch any day of the week. You need to be in the mood for it because it's a long one. You have to be in that mindset, but it's brilliant. Right, it really is. Right. It's wonderful.
I love in chat they're actually really talk about the different Star Trek movies and plots and stuff.
Yeah.
And talk about what movies they like better and going into the Final Frontier and the first one are kind of odd. And I'm going, actually, I think out of all the Star Trek movies, my favorite scene is still Spock learning about colorful metaphors.
Poor Odin has no reference for
And
that.
I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Metaphors? What?
You get stuck on Earth, and Spock's trying to learn how to communicate with 90s humans.
Oh.
And so he's trying to learn how to speak in colorful metaphor
Oh, okay.
so that he blends in. So he's trying to learn to swear. And
I bet that's funny. Oh, that sounds funny.
That's one of my favorite parts.
Oh, yeah. See, that's something where it's like, I'd watch the, I'd watch the clips instead of watching the movie, and everyone would be like, no, watch the whole thing.
You have to watch the whole thing.
Tina, Rosetta, and I will now start speaking in Klingon, and we'll completely leave Odin out of
my God, yes.
conversation.
Fun fact, and this is something that eventually will be a giveaway. I have Conversational Klingon on CD. And so I'm going to do that as a giveaway. So it's a CD of how to learn Conversational Klingon. And it's something my father-in-law gave to me. And it's funny.
Some of the accenting and pronunciation that he created for the Klingon language was actually based on the dialect of the Lakota.
Oh, interesting.
And Roddenberry liked the Sioux. He actually visited Pine Ridge and Rosebud a lot.
Wow.
And parts of both Vulcan and Klingon culture came from some of our mythology.
Okay. That's actually
kind of
cool.
cool.
I like when they're able to tie it into actual languages. And I think it makes it even cooler in all honesty. Like whenever you look at, it is cool though, of course, when they make up their own language, but every language is based on something, right? I forget what the Elvish language is based off of in Lord of the Rings, but the fact that he made up his own language and wrote his own alphabet for it.
His own language, I know.
I know it was based on one of those old tongues. I know it was actually from the European dialects of old. I just don't remember which one.
Yeah. Well, knowing him as someone that's known as a Christian, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Latin or something. Like something similar. Definitely a romance language, Latin based, I would say.
I have to do some research on it. It's been too long since I studied that.
Yeah. Alex McCarthy says Star Trek 1 and 5 suck.
That's true.
So
that's true.
That might be why I didn't like the beginning of the first one. I was like, ugh. Christopher Mills says, watch 2001 sequel 2010, the year we made contact. I've never seen that.
I saw that one, yeah.
That's right. I said it wrong. I meant 80s.
Okay. Is it any good? 2010?
It's been a long time since I've seen it, and I think I kind of liked it because it explained what was going on in 2001, which I was told you had to be under the influence of drugs to understand.
They wouldn't be completely off base. They would not be completely off base with that.
I think truculent might be right on the languages. Phoenician makes sense, and Welsh, the way the words flow.
Okay. And
Phoenician's often used as a poetic language. That's why the Phoenician culture is used so much in a lot of metal right now.
Okay. Well, thank you, JP, for that. Darkness says most films would end up on the second film for a majority of the time. The third film is the worst of the trilogy. Oh, we're talking about just in general? It depends. Because I think that most people would say that, for example, Return of the Jedi is the worst of the original Star Wars movies, but then Revenge of the Sith is the best, considered the best of the prequel trilogy. So it's interesting how all that usually works, though.
I'm actually torn on saying that on Return of the Jedi because I like the cutesy battle scenes.
No, it's not saying it's bad. It's just saying that out of all of them, it would be the weaker of the three.
So for me, I mean, it came out the year I was born. I grew up watching Star Wars stuff ever since I was a baby, literally. And I have to admit, as a kid, I liked the Ewok battles more purely because I like the cute and evil all at the same time.
No, I love it because I love Ewoks because they're adorable. Even though some people hate them, though. Some people do hate them. It's funny to always hear, those damn Ewoks. And I'm just like, but they're cute. How could you hate them?
See, I saw Return of the Jedi the day it opened in my hometown. We were lined up for it. And I was wearing my fedora. I had thawed out my Han Solo action figure, which had been on ice for 3 years. So we get in there and the place is packed and we're so excited. And then it started, and we were like, okay, not sure where this is going. Okay, we're in Jabba's palace, and I don't know. It seemed kind of slow at the beginning, and then Luke showed up, and we had that bounty hunter, which some people in the audience were already screaming, I bet you anything that's Leia in disguise, and we were right. And I don't know. It wasn't disconnected, but it felt like Star Wars, but it was just something was off about it.
It was just different.
It was a slower storyline than the other.
Yeah.
Action based.
And
I think that threw some people off.
Right. And then by the time we got to the Ewok planet, it was like, okay, well, the first part of the movie was better. I still to this day do not know where Leia got that dress and that hairstyle. It was like, did the Ewoks have a dress for her? Did they make it for her? Did they do her hair?
Yeah, darn tootin'.
I mean, it's like, okay, this is just, I don't know. It was, and I liked the way it ended. I was fine with that, but no, Return of the Jedi's never been one of my favorites. And I know I hear people saying, oh, you're just putting it down. It's like, no, I was there when it opened. I saw it 6 or 7 more times after that. It's never been one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people
perspective. A lot of characters, both in Star Wars and in other projects Lucas did, he kind of created specifically for friends of his that were having trouble getting work as short people in Hollywood.
Uh-huh.
Why he made Willow was to give a movie starring role to Warwick. So you have to look at, also he put some of these characters in to help friends who are having trouble getting work.
That's interesting. I've never actually heard that from anyone before about that.
That was in an interview I watched when I was little with him. I wish I could remember.
That actually makes sense too with the Willow connection, I would say.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Warwick was one of the main Ewoks. He also was the body double for several of the others. And he starred in Willow and stuff. And as corny as the first version of Narnia that BBC did, the best part of it was Warwick as Reepicheep. So that's also what turned a lot of people off on the remakes that they tried to do, is having him play the traitor.
Yeah.
Because it didn't work. Warwick's too cool for that.
He is a really nice guy, though. He is super awesome.
A really great appearance of his recently is he was on that television show that, what's his name? Ricky Gervais did. And it was hilarious. Just look up Ricky Gervais, Warwick Davis. And it's fantastic to see them interacting and talking about a project coming up. But over on DLive, Film Professor says, did you see the deep fake where they superimposed Jim Carrey on Jack Nicholson in an entire scene of The Shining? I've not seen that specific one, but deep faking is disturbing. It's just, it really is. There was one that I saw of Bill Hader of Saturday Night Live fame, of him doing impersonations, and they put the different faces of the voices he's doing on there, and it looks so real. It's like, man, it's not going to be hard for someone to fake a video of someone saying something and like people actually believing that it's real. You know, like any person could say any one thing and people would believe that it's real because of what deepfakes does now. It's crazy.
It's very creepy.
Yeah. But speaking of Star Wars news, we're going to talk a little bit about the D23 news that has been coming out over the last couple of days. We know where a lot of us have various opinions on the news, and I think that it's going to be a pretty good discussion overall, because I think there's definitely a lot of different opinions, especially with Star Wars, because I think there's a part of us that we really want things like The Mandalorian to be good. We want things like Clone Wars Season 7 to be good. Even though we might not want to support Disney in the process, we do still want good Star Wars stories being told, and right now, the only person that has the ability to really do so in any grand scale is Lucasfilm under Kathleen Kennedy. And so I guess we'll start off with Tina. So Tina, what are your thoughts on what are your thoughts specifically with Star Wars, with the Mandalorian trailer coming out, and just anything else with let's stay on the Disney Plus side of things for now with Star Wars. Do you think that Disney Plus Star Wars has some potential to be good?
I mean, for those of you that got excited over the Mandalorian trailer, which I haven't seen because I don't care. I'm happy for you all, but remember, this is the same company that lets trolls like Ryan Johnson still get on Twitter and call us names. They haven't issued an apology, and I mean a sincere apology, not a half-assed one, but one where they crawl across broken glass and go on a world tour where they say, we were wrong. We haven't heard that. So they throw out this Mandalorian trailer, and it's like, see, puppies, we gave you something. We gave you something. Oh, yeah, Mandalorian. Please do not get deceived by this nonsense. That's all I'm saying. Now, it could turn out to be good, but I'm so off Star Wars. It's just like when everybody was saying, it looks awesome, it looks great. I just yawned and said, you do realize they're just throwing you a bone.
Oh, okay. And I think that everyone wants Tina to continue to do dog impersonations in the future as well. Exactly. But I'm glad you used that expression, throwing them a bone, because that's how I felt, like, less so with Mandalorian, because Mandalorian, it looks to me, and again, I could be wrong, and I hope I'm not, but it looks to me like it's Jon Favreau's passion project. And if it's Jon Favreau's passion project, then I think it could be good. But the throwing of the bone happened to me when they announced the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Like, that to me felt so forced, because I was like, you are now throwing out something that fans have wanted from the beginning, ever since the prequel series ended, and people said, you know what, Ewan McGregor was awesome in that role. Like, even people who had issues with the prequels said, you know what, Ewan McGregor was great as an Obi-Wan Kenobi. I would like to see more of him. And people have been asking for it for years. And now all of a sudden, now we have Disney Plus. So now behind a paywall, we'll give you Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, and that's what I was getting ready to say. Why is Obi-Wan suddenly the secondary character that they're throwing him onto some streaming service? Oh, and if you want it, you can get it with ESPN Plus and Hulu, and we're going to give it to you for this rate. So why is he now such a lesser character? He gets thrown on to Disney Plus with the Mandalorian or the Casio watch guy. That's where he's at this point. This is where he's at. Why is he not getting a movie?
Casio watch guy.
I don't know the dude's name.
Cassian Andor. The fact that but that's great. Cassian Andor. And Casio watch guy, though, I love that. I think that's what I want to start calling him now. Casio watch. That's great. He should be sponsored by Casio watch. That'd be a way to get people to watch the show.
There you go. But at this point, no, I will not get Disney Plus. The only way I would tune into that Obi-Wan show is if they're telling me Ian McGregor is going to break out in freaking song like Moulin Rouge from time to time.
It's going to take him out in his voice and singing, like Moulin Rouge, and that. He's got a silk voice that's heaven. Let's be real.
Oh my God. I mean, if they tell me he's going to break out into how wonderful the world is, of how wonderful life is when you're in the world, I'm like, yes, okay, maybe you've sold me. But no.
I like how it's like, if Obi-Wan Kenobi becomes a musical series, then I'll watch.
Then the girls are just to hear that silken voice and go.
Exactly. Turn her into a puppy again. Yeah.
It would be.
Oh, come on.
What was that, Laura?
No, I would love to see Obi-Wan sing. That would be cool.
See, you've got the girls there.
That would be great. But no, I for those of you that are excited, I hope it's good. But you know what? I'm also in this frame of mind that, and this is nasty, it's terrible, but I almost hope it fails, because if it's a success, then KK and Ryan and the rest of their ilk will continue to think, see, we can just throw them anything and they'll take it.
Yeah, I think that's that's where a lot of people are stuck, is that we want good Star Wars, and, we're stuck with the people that we have now. So it's, do you support the good stuff if there is good stuff? And then if you do that, though, does that still perpetuate the bad stuff? And that's why I at first I was definitely a lot more rigid on this, I think, where I was very much you're either here or you're there. But I've started to realize more so, especially with more of these announcements as they come out, where I can understand why people, and I think this is something that we saw on Twitter recently, where someone was calling others out, saying, oh, here's what people were saying beforehand. Then they announced Obi-Wan, and now everyone wants to buy the streaming service, and basically trying to say that everyone in the Phantom Menace were hypocrites. And I'm like, no, like the Phantom Menace is more than just one philosophy.
Exactly.
Yeah, we were both on that conversation, actually.
And I was like, no, some people in the Phantom Menace even like actually thought that The Last Jedi wasn't as bad as others do think,
Exactly.
They've got questionable taste, but
well, no, because it's one of those things where they can objectively understand that there are definitely issues where they can say, okay, no, this is definitely a problem, but overall it was an enjoyable experience for them. And obviously an experience is purely subjective, and we can't really say one thing or the other. That being said, though, it is an interesting place to be, though, because obviously I'm still very much on that anti-Disney reign for me personally, because I think that is I personally think that's the most effective way. But at the same time, too, I respect anyone that says, hey, you know what? I'm going to boycott the bad, support the good. I'm going to boycott episode 9, but I'm going to support The Mandalorian because it actually looks good. Or I'm going to support Clone Wars season 7 because Clone Wars is great, And so I can understand why it's kind of like that mixed bag, And I think that it's becoming more complex the more we find out. Because, again, you all know I want Kathleen Kennedy gone. I think she's an idiot. I think anyone that says, I'm going to put 3 different people in charge of 3 different movies that are also part of the same universe, and I'm not going to have any of the stories connect with each other in a very direct way, and then I'm going to fire people 80% of the way through filming for Solo. I'm going to do this. It's like she has no idea what she's doing as a president. As a producer, sure, go ahead. You can point out her movies and how successful they've been, and okay, producing side, maybe she knows what she's doing, but she doesn't know what she's doing creatively. And that's pretty apparent when you look at the films that have been coming out,
Exactly.
I have to say I'm with Stephanie there. Just say no to the House of Mouse.
And I know and a lot of people, of course, a lot of people, myself included, I know a lot of people on the channel definitely are part of that. But I think that we now more so than ever.
I'm not going to tell other people not to.
Yeah. And I think that it was mostly, speaking of the Twitter thread that we were on, Rosetta, I think now so more than ever, though, we need to make it clear that that most of us are not that extreme, where we say, oh, turn in your fandom card because you happen to be interested in a series. It's like, I think that, because I've been guilty of gatekeeping in the past for sure. And I think that that's something that we should always try to avoid, And
I've argued with you guys all the time. You guys still welcome me into the fandom.
Yeah. So. Everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome here. And let's see. Redneck Cambo. That's an interesting name. Thanks for following me over on DLive. That's a great name. But yeah, so okay, so that's an interesting perspective. Laura, what you got? What you think about the Disney Plus side of Star Wars going forward?
Yeah, I was kind of excited, but I'm very concerned. Jeremy put out that video about the woman who is the showrunner for Miss Marvel, and it's kind of a gray area because she's a quote comedian, but she had some questionable stuff on her Twitter. So, I mean, I may watch the shows, but I don't think I'll be paying for the service.
Yeah.
Because when you have somebody who has to lock their Twitter account, that's not a good sign.
No, it's not. It's like, and then when you're finding, not only is it locked down, but then you can just go to that website where you can go back in time and see a page, and then all these things are popping up. And it's like, okay, not only is it on lockdown, but now we're finding tweets that you've put. So how many other tweets are there that are similar to this that just haven't been dug up yet, And it's just, and it is, I think that's a good point too, is that as excited as we might be about something in particular, there could easily be a show like this where the person behind it is as extreme as they are, that keeps people from getting the service overall. Because even though it's cheap, $7 a month, you're getting the entire thing. And so you might want to pay for this or that, but you don't want to pay for the other thing. And so I think that's an interesting point, is that, people that might actually have otherwise got the series, but now see this news here about this woman going crazy and say, yeah, but you know what? I don't want to give them money. I don't want to give that person my money. If there was a way that I could choose, okay, I get this show and this show and this show for this amount, maybe then, but because this is included, then maybe not so much. Maybe not so much.
Right. And in reference to Twitter, not only have I had people block me, I've gotten direct messages from people, and it's like, I thought our whole thing is we aren't an echo chamber. Mm-hmm. I mean, or is the Phantom Menace a group of people who have different opinions, or are we just all going to sit here and agree with each other?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's what was really cool about that one tweet was that you saw even heavy hitters like Jeremy jumped in saying, no, if you like The Last Jedi, hey, you're not going to be attacked, at least not by him, right? And so I think that was a good point, was that I think the tweet was good, even though I disagree with it, because it brought to light how most people are not on that side. Most people are not that closed off, are not that closed-minded. Where
I may mock the stuff, I may mock people who like it, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to be friends with them or respect them.
Oh yeah, I mean, I do this to my students all the time when they say, because I've asked them like, how many of you liked Endgame? Because Endgame is, of course, the thing that's new. And because I was asking my students on the first day, what's your favorite movie? And a couple of them said Endgame. And I'm like, really? Really? Can you explain time travel? Can you explain what happened? And then most of them are just like, no. And I'm just like, yeah, that's what I thought.
My godson liked it, and I got him I went into him on the issues with time travel and the different types of quantum physics, and I actually got him to buy a book to study quantum physics to figure it out.
Yeah. No, and it's fun because you talk about, because like you talk about time travel came up in one of our discussions, and I mentioned, hey, if you want time travel, go out at night and watch the stars. You are literally looking at those stars past. And then they're like, wait, what do you mean? And then you talk about just how light works and everything. And just that one concept blows their minds because they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize that before. And you're like, yeah, it's pretty cool, huh? Yeah, stargazing. Try getting into it maybe. Get away from get away from your video games for a second and go outside.
Exactly.
And Christopher Mills says, would you see a Star Wars Grand Admiral Thrawn if they made it? Depends on where it is. If it's a movie and you have if you had Denis Villeneuve directing and any competent writer in Hollywood writing, you're damn right I would watch that. No question. I would watch that.
I might use a free movie code for it. I'm not going to go to the theater for it anymore.
Yeah. Like that, with that director and with a good writer, absolutely. With that character, would watch it. No question. Now, that's not likely what's going to happen. If they made that movie, it'd probably be J.J. Abrams or one of JJ's friends.
God.
It would be someone connected to the JJ. That's why, I mean, listening to Gary's channel, he goes all into like there's all these connections. It's like, I almost feel like I'm looking at Charlie Day's character from It's Always Sunny, where he's got the board with the red string on it. He's like, oh my God, he's connected and all of these things. It's like, oh my God, it just shows you how connected JJ is and where he gets his tendrils and everything. And it's
he's got one or two people that are on the Lord of the Rings Amazon series. It's like, why? No. Why are you involved in that? In any way? Oh my God!
Like, just go away for a second, please. Let one property exist.
And am I the nerd that would sit there and do the 18-hour marathon to watch all the special editions of all the Lord of the Rings stuff?
Oh, I would do that too, for sure.
I have done it. I have a few times.
Oh yeah, and it was fun though because we did it where it was being projected at my old high school. And
fun.
The one I went to, not the one I taught at. And it was great because I had never seen them all the way through like that before. And it was like, oh my gosh, 4 hours later, that was amazing.
Yeah, every single special edition from beginning of Hobbit all the way through Lord of the Rings is over 3 hours.
Yeah.
It is almost 20 hours total to watch them all as a marathon. And I've done it several times.
Wow.
I love my Lord of the Rings stuff. I grew up reading those.
And Rosetta, before we get to your thoughts on the Star Wars stuff from Disney Plus, Alex McCarthy says, like Reylo, but I don't like Last Jedi because how they did Luke. Wait, you like Reylo? What? What?
Wait a minute, who said that?
Alex McCarthy.
Alex!
Who likes Reylo? Who honestly likes Reylo? That's creepy. Aren't they supposed to be brother and sister in the future? What's going on?
No, I don't think they're brother and sister.
I highly doubt they actually tried to adapt the Jason and Jaina stuff because that would actually have some taste.
Oh, yeah. But I was like, I understand liking The Last Jedi, but Reylo? Come on, man. Come on, Alex.
Rey is going to be Kylo's grandmother, great grandmother. So
that one rumor about her being Shmi, I'm like, God, if they did that, that's when people walk out. That's when people say, really? That's why I don't think it's true. I don't think there's any chance that could be true.
It would be literally a version of I'm My Own Grandpa, which they did well in Futurama, though. So.
Yes.
John
Brian went back in time and slept with his grandmother.
John Winkler says, "Hey there, Odin. Don't insult my hobby, you fake film critics." Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that, John. Stephanie B spells out D-Ni Villa New. Thank you for that. For those that didn't know how to pronounce it, that's the way you do it. Stephanie B says, "Charlie is the king of the rats." Yes. Christopher Mills says, "Jar Jar Abrams worships Cthulhu." That explains it. Christopher Mills, you've explained it all. That's how he's gotten his hand in everything. He's a worshiper of Cthulhu. Super says, "Oh, guys, did you see Disney's release schedule up to 2021? We're getting 3 original concepts, 2 from Pixar, 1 from Disney proper. I think I might actually be excited about Disney again."
I'm not.
3 whole movies. Oh, my gosh.
3, wow.
And 2 of them are animated. And guess what? Out of all those 3, I bet most of them are based off of previous material. Like Kimba.
Yeah,
like
Disney's
Kimba the White
idea
Lion.
of an original is how well can I steal this story from someone else?
Yeah, and that's most of the big studios these days, too. And Alex McCarthy says, "I stand by Rey being a Kenobi is why." Oh, okay.
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
But still, Reylo, really? Go on Tumblr, Alex McCarthy. Go spend some time on Tumblr and see if you still are a Reylo supporter then.
Yeah.
Read some of those fan fictions.
They're creepy people.
And so,
make my eye twitch.
So Rosetta, what are your thoughts on the Disney Plus Star Wars stuff?
I have to do my little ditty. Disney sucks. They really, really suck. Disney sucks. They really, really suck.
Suck. So I take it that you're not going to be.
They're not getting a cent of my money. I don't care what they do. They can go kiss whatever idol they want to kiss. They get nothing from me. I'm done.
Now, would you ever watch it? Would you ever watch it if there was a way that you wouldn't have to give Disney a cent, allegedly?
I don't know, because I don't trust the people making any of the stuff.
All right, I got you. I respect that for sure. I'm kind of in that mixed bag. You know, I think if I hear great things about The Mandalorian, I'll watch it on my stick eventually.
I'd rather sit here and watch you guys and give the fandom money than watch any of the stuff Disney does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. No, I'd rather watch. And I need to get Gary on the channel at some point, or I need to somehow weasel my way back onto his channel because I want to just talk to him. I just want to talk to him because he's so knowledgeable on this stuff. Like, he knows so much more, especially when it comes to the comic stuff, like all the Marvel stuff. I was like, I want to know, is this a character that I should be excited for or not? Gary, I trust you. And Gary, do I trust?
That's not a Disney original either. Do some research on it. That came out of a sci-fi novel from long before.
Which one?
Atlantis, the Lost Empire.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just heard they're supposedly remaking that.
And then Super says, everyone, opinions on the episode 9 teaser poster. Palpatine, don't look right, fam. Yes, I agree with that expression. He don't look right, fam. Yeah, he doesn't. And he looks like a cartoon. And that's why my first comment on Twitter was, is this animated? Since when is episode 9 animated? Because that's what it looks like. It looks like it's going to be an animated movie.
That's such a weird choice.
It is.
I mean, I was like, who looked at that and was like, that's good.
Yeah, I know, right, Laura?
They look like stormtroopers have been rolled into red shirts so they can misfire, hit the wall, and shoot themselves.
Oh, don't even be started. Oh, that's right, because we're getting red stormtroopers. Sith troopers.
Yes, they are so stupid.
Sith troopers.
Literally, it looks like they're trying to make red shirt stormtroopers.
It's like, and also, someone did some research, and apparently they had, like, years ago, a red stormtrooper. And so the thought was, maybe they just had a bunch of these lying around in a warehouse, and they said, you know what? We need to sell these. Let's go ahead and put it in a movie, and then that way we can just take what was already created that one bought, because there was no red stormtrooper before, until now.
Oh, I'm sure it's a slam at the red states.
Oh,
you know,
probably.
It's a Trump thing.
Oh, it always is, yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Everybody racist for everything. So, you know, they're portraying a villain by making it red, so can't I say they're anti-native? Just because you have to give them with their own logic.
Yeah. And they're like, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. It only works one way. It doesn't work the other way. You can't do that. I'm not even gonna ask what that means. Bruce says, just wait till it comes out on Blu-ray and buy it used third party. Well, I know what Bruce is doing, so
Yeah.
Hunka Chunka Funka Monkey first said Duck Fisney, and then it says apparently they used a toy image of Palpa. That's what they did? Maybe that's
real?
so I think someone must have on Twitter that maybe that was the image I was looking at. I didn't realize it, that they took the image that's on there and compared it to a toy image, and it works out to be almost the same. If that's the case, good Lord. Why? Just if the dude is going to be in the movie, if Palpatine, which again, based on the fact he showed up at Celebration, he's going to be in the movie, why don't you just put him in makeup? I don't understand. Which makes me worry because if he's going to be completely CGI,
maybe we don't see his face. Maybe we only hear his voice.
That could be a way that they get around it. But then why have his picture on the poster?
Because they're stupid.
That's true.
Who was his celebrations? The guy who played Palpatine in the prequels?
Ian McDermott?
Yeah, Ian McDermott.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow, I thought we were supposed to forget the past, kill it if we have to.
Only when it suits you. And then when you need money. And then when you need money because no one's buying Star Wars anymore, you bring back Palpatine, you finally do a Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and you give the fans what they want up to a point.
Not for Disney. Disney's our powerful overlord. They don't have to apply the rules. The dark side, they are.
Dark side, they are.
Yeah.
Well, dark side, they are.
Captain Darkstar. Speaking of dark side, Captain Darkstar 57 over on DLive. Dude, you still need to check your Twitter, man. Captain Darkstar. He says the 4 horsemen of Hollywood: Abrams, Chibnall, Kurtzman, and Johnson. Yep, I would say that's accurate. I know that Gary would very much agree with that assessment.
Oh my gosh, that's true.
That's so true. Ness Annason says, you notice that Disney is putting out tons of content where not a lot of money has to be spent. They already paid for the scripts for Obi-Wan show, Clone Wars shows already done, etc. Yeah, I mean, and as I said before, and this is something I've mentioned in some of my videos, isn't it interesting that more people are excited about the Disney Plus shows than they are for their big movie? More people are concerned about Mandalorian, are looking into the Obi-Wan series, which hasn't even filmed yet. More people are interested in the Obi-Wan series than they are in Episode 9. And I think that kind of spells the danger that everything is happening with Disney right now, is that they have not been able to sell a product that they've spent more money on just based on pure budgets alone and marketing. And I don't really see a world where the film makes much more than $1 billion in December. What say you, Laura?
Yeah, I think this is what happens when you have not necessarily nepotism, but when you have a group of very tight-knit people. I don't think that Kathleen Kennedy has ever worried since the minute that she graduated from school about her career. Because the minute she graduated from college, she was in an affirmative action program that pushed her up the ladder. And
her graduation was one. She is an idiot.
I would not say that she's an idiot based on the research that I've done on her. I think that she's like all systems that rely on friendships and nepotism. She was placed above her skill level. I think she's probably an excellent producer.
Yeah.
But directing multiple movies I know she repeatedly asked for Iger to extend the time frames of some of the movies and was rejected. So, I mean, I don't think she's an idiot. I think she's in over her head.
Yeah,
I think the problem.
I think that's a lot more.
I think both are true. She's an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that's definitely more of the over her head, because you do look to her films that she's attached to as a producer, and she's been a part of some really good films, and she's made money off of those films. So obviously she has some idea. And also, all this stuff's going on with Star Wars, and she still has a job. So she can't be a complete idiot, right? She has to be somewhat knowledgeable enough to be able to stay on the payroll and to be able to convince the people that she's still worth having on as president. So, I think that there's definitely something to be said for that. But yeah, I think that it is interesting that you have all of this stuff going on, and I'm glad that you let us know about that. And for those watching and who didn't hear this on the pre-show where we were talking, Laura, what did she do in was it high school again?
Okay, so she started out, she's always been very unconventional. She was her high school football team's quarterback. So she played with the boys as a quarterback. And, she went to college for film school, got out, and immediately wanted to take on technical positions. She wasn't interested. She wanted, she worked in the newsroom at first and wasn't interested in the clerical positions. She wanted to be a camera person and learn the technical side of the news. And she's always been very unconventional as far as her interest. And, a lot of the stuff that people say about her, it's completely factually not true. She does mention all the time that she got help along the way, that through affirmative action, doors were open for her. But I've watched hours of YouTube videos of her and her husband, and I've read a lot on them. And she's not stupid.
Yeah, and
she's not a bad producer. She's just
Super Anime Gamer kind of adds on to that. It says Kathleen Kennedy isn't stupid. She's just not creative, which is why she's an awful fit for Star Wars. She can't give the franchise the guidance it needs, hence the sequel trilogy mess. I think that Laura and Super are right on that, where it's more just a lack of creativity than anything else.
Why is she so unable to articulate a sentence when she's talking to people?
Well, I think that
all this stuff. I mean, this isn't trying to be creative. This is basic grammar and spelling constantly are screwed up on her posts and her statements.
Well, where does she? Because where are her posts that you're looking at?
A lot of her old tweets I was going through a while back.
Because I don't.
Well, spelling is not logical. If you can't spell, that's because you're thinking.
Yeah.
We spell words the way that they did because some dude who wrote a dictionary decided we're going to spell this word this way.
Because Trump also misspells a lot too. So, I mean,
there's so many errors, and it's one thing to have mistakes.
Yeah.
It's another when there's
also,
whole sections
Twitter,
that you can't even figure out what they meant.
Yeah, Twitter for me, I look less at spelling when it comes to Twitter, because Twitter is just like raw emotion, raw thought. And I know that I misspell things all the time. Our president misspells things all the time.
You have a typo or you miss a word or something like that. She's got a lot of tweets. I rearranged like 20 times and I can't make sense of it.
Was she on Twitter ever, though? I don't remember her having an active Twitter profile recently.
This is old stuff I was looking through a while back. She closed it.
Okay, because I remember there were people that thought that they found her Twitter, but then it wasn't her Twitter. So that's why I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of worried, like, was it possibly like...
She had one back when they first started using her, and she closed it out.
Okay.
And this was a long time ago.
Maybe she closed it out because she just wasn't very good at it. Maybe she realized, oh, I need an editor, or I need this.
It's hard for me to see her as intelligent when she came off so weird when she tried to communicate with people.
Okay. Well, I will say this much, because as a teacher especially, I know that intelligence isn't always based off of the ability to spell or use words correctly. So... I'll fight against you on that one. I'll fight against you on that one, Rosetta.
It should be for the type of intelligence she claims to have in interviews.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched enough of her interviews, to be honest, to be able to say one or the other.
But, again, I don't know if she's got some intelligence there. Again, not all types of intelligence are the same, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
I just, from the things I've seen and heard and witnessed, I can't say she's intelligent.
Yeah. And I think that we could definitely say that types of intelligence... where, creatively, I would say that she lacks a lot of intelligence when it comes to creative process. But, as we were saying before, the fact that she has been a part of movies, because someone said, but the movies are failing because of her. And it's like, I agree that the Star Wars movies are failing because of her lack of creativity and the inability to keep everyone together and to have one unifying vision. But I looked at films that she's been a producer on in the past that were very successful, very good films. So I know that producing wise, she's definitely got a higher IQ than not when it comes to producing at the very least.
Was she the only producer on that, or was she maybe there because of affirmative action? Somebody else was doing a lot of the work.
Well, no. What I'm saying is the research that I did. They opened the doors for her, but she performed. I mean, she admits it. She talks about it very frequently. In interviews that she had doors open for her, but she was the one who had to go in there and prove that she could do the job.
Yeah. And Stephanie B says, misspelling should be okay. I know. I feel so attacked right now.
All these mistakes. That was not what I was getting at. I tried to sit there and block people for making a mistake.
And Stephanie B should know because she's always spelling.
How much she puts down fans as being stupid or lowbrow or sexist or stuff. It's ironic that half the time she comes off so ridiculous.
Yeah, that's why I kind of wonder, like, how much of it is people around her versus how much of it is actually her herself. And because she doesn't really give a whole lot of interviews last time I checked, recently at the very least.
No. And I was going to ask Laura,
Mm-hmm.
do you think, from the interviews you've read with her, do you think that's why Lucas felt that he could turn things over to her and things would be okay? Since she had to work so hard to get there?
I don't know much about their relationship. I watched a lot of interviews and read a lot of stuff with her and her husband when they had their own production company. It could just be, a lot of people have great interpersonal skills, like they form really solid, tight friendships.
Yeah. I mean, Rian Johnson. I think Rian Johnson hasn't been officially canned yet.
Yeah. Well, I know that there were people on the police department that when they were beat officers and I would make scenes with them, you liked them as a person. Well, then they would get promoted to like sergeants and lieutenants and above. And you were like, well, they may have read the book to pass the test, but they have no people skills. The officers under them don't respect them. They don't like them. I had a lot of commanding officers that it was like, I don't even know why I'm approaching you with a problem.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a clue to how our unit works. So, and then you have others is like, oh yeah, they're great people. They deal well with people, but they don't have a clue.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's a good example.
Just because just because you're a major now, that doesn't mean that you have that respect or that understanding. So KK could kind of be in the same boat.
Yeah. And I used to work for a summer camp, and it was very similar, where there was one person that was very good at people, was very good at working with staff and having conversations, but then the other wasn't, but she was amazing behind the scenes. Like she was great at contracts and great at like getting everything set up. Just didn't have that like people, interaction.
Yeah,
I think that,
exactly.
I think that that's something that is desperately needed. And so I think that we could definitely look at her and see that she probably has certain skills. Like she probably has that people to people interaction. You don't stay where you are. Let me just put it this way. You don't have a movie like Solo lose $200 million at the box office and keep your job unless you have good interpersonal relationships with everyone behind the scenes.
Right.
Because if her relationships were not good behind the scenes, they would have jumped on that and said, oh, she's incompetent. She can't have this anymore. So there's obviously at least something she's doing right. Maybe not, again, for the fandom, but on the inside to keep her job.
Yeah, I don't remember Kathleen Kennedy ever calling the fans sexist, but I might have missed, with all the comments that were flying around. Yeah, I might have missed something.
Because sometimes
I'll have to verify things because it's a mess trying to keep all of those people straight on.
Absolutely.
Especially with this Disney stuff, because they have tons of people in there and they're always shooting their mouths off about fans, and it's like
for me, sometimes it's easy to like kind of mix them together, but that's why, like, for me, if someone says something that Rian Johnson says, I know that it's true because I've seen it. Like, I've actually read the tweets myself of him, calling people a variety of things. If someone says Chuck Wendig did something, okay, I know it's true because he blocked me for no reason, and before that time, he
I didn't even talk to him.
Which is why I love my shirt that I have where it says, if you're not blocked by Chuck Wendig, you're doing something wrong, because, I mean, let's be honest.
And I found out I'm blocked by him.
He just, I mean, and I would say, like, to me.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second, what the crap? He blocked me. I've never even talked to him.
That's when I realized that Disney at least has some standard. Maybe not a great standard, but some standard, because they were like, no, we don't want anything to do with you anymore. Like, at least they fired Chuck Wendig, right? At least they did something right.
I'll give you that.
I got to give credit where credit's due. They at least were like, you're a little too extreme. We could take Rian Johnson every now and then saying, oh, man, baby, blah, blah, blah. But Chuck Wendig was like cursing rants like really bad stuff, like disgust. Like he is compared to Ryan Johnson is an angel in comparison to Chuck Wendig. I tell you, because Chuck Wendig was just insane.
I think Ryan Johnson is one of those.
Argue it with him to find out.
Yeah.
I think Ryan Johnson is one of those people that knows exactly what he can get away with. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that definitely comes from that, you know, and some people might push back on this, but that sense of intelligence, because he definitely has some intelligence too, right? You don't get to where you don't direct a Star Wars movie if you're completely incompetent, but it comes from the fact that he's always known just how far to push. He's always known just what he could get away with. And I think that that's a skill, actually, to be honest. I think that's something that our president could probably use a little advice from is how to go just far enough, but maybe not say, go back to where you came from.
I still don't know where Ryan Johnson came from.
Yeah.
I saw that time travel movie that I didn't even know it was
Looper.
his movie.
Yeah.
Looper, yeah. And I was like, okay, it started out okay, but then it kind of fell apart in the middle, and by the end, I just wanted everybody dead. And
that was his?
Looper was his.
And I saw The Brothers Bloom, and it was another one like, okay, it started out okay, it fell apart in the middle, and by the end, it was like, why isn't everybody dead? I want them dead. And all of a sudden, they picked this indie director just out of the ether and say, we're going to give him a multi-million-dollar movie in a billion-dollar franchise.
Yeah.
Who does he know? What does he have pictures on? Who's he been?
I don't. Where's our female director, Kathleen Kennedy?
That's a great point too. Yeah.
It's like, okay, you've been promoted your entire life, and doors have been open for you. Yep. Where's the female director?
You want to know who the female director is going to be? It's going to be on the Obi-Wan series on Disney Plus, and then she'll be like, "Look, you see," and then. Of course, you'll have people like Mary Sue saying, why are you putting her on the streaming service? She deserves a movie.
Isn't Opie's daughter directing an episode of The Mandalorian?
Bryce Dallas Howard, yeah. Bryce. I forget that that's Ron Howard's daughter too. But yeah, Bryce Dallas Howard is directing an episode.
What's her background? I mean, as far other than
she's acted.
She's acted.
And
so she's
to be fair, that's the one where I'm like, there's definitely nepotism involved, obviously.
Of course.
But it's not completely unheard of for directors to take a shot at directing too. But the examples that I want to give are ones that have been a part of a series for a long time. For example, Tom Welling directed an episode of Smallville in like season 8, 9, or 10. After he had been a part of the show, seen how directors work, learned the skill. And Bryce Dallas Howard definitely could have an argument too because her dad is a director. So she's probably picked some things up. But yeah, you can definitely not look at that and say that no nepotism. If her last name was not Howard, would she have the same success? Probably not.
Exactly.
Probably not.
And I've told Steph I'm getting off point right here, and I'm gonna go get some coffee while you all continue. But I used to like Ron Howard. When I soured on him, this is kind of personal. Back in 2005, after he directed Cinderella Man, Russell Crowe got involved in an incident that got him arrested. The media acted like Russell Crowe was one of the 9/11 terrorists because he threw a phone at a concierge. Didn't hit the concierge.
Yeah.
Ron Howard claimed not that kind of bad, but they were on there like, yes, he should be banned from movie making. Oh, please.
Yeah.
You know, Hollywood hypocrisy.
Oh, yeah.
But what ticked me off about Ron Howard was that Russell had made 2 movies with Ron Howard, A Beautiful Mind and Cinderella Man. Ron Howard claimed Russell Crowe was his friend. When that happened, Ron Howard never opened his mouth. That's not friendship.
Yeah, the ones to be that where they're supposedly friends with the person for a long time.
Yes.
Where the person's done bad things before, they've stood by him, and all of a sudden they're really quiet and they throw him under the bus with everyone else.
Yes.
Really points of question. And it's even if it's somebody I dislike, but we all know their history. We all know the things they've said and done before. We all know they're not the stablest person. And all of a sudden people who were there for him for all that for decades suddenly are quiet when they can benefit off of not defending them. That bothers me. And that's actually what lost a lot of my respect for Dan Goodman. Because he did that.
Oh, yeah.
For decades. he sat there and quietly let them say that what she did was racist because he got to take over the show and own it.
Right. Well, that was when I'm not saying Ron Howard's a bad director or anything, but I lost a lot of respect for him because I was like, what Russell did may not have been right, but if that's your friend, find out his side of what happened. And if you hear the details of the incident, the media blew it all out of proportion. But that's when my respect for him, when he signed up for Solo, I was kind of like, I want this movie to fail anyway, but I don't like you anymore.
Yeah.
I just don't.
And actually, I'm glad you brought up that point with, someone in the chat said, fair weather friends. They're good. They're with you with the good times, or when it's I would also add when it's politically expedient. That's also when you'll have people that will support you. But for example, great example of recent times on YouTube, Andy Signore. I mean, everyone went against him. Even his friends turned their backs on him. And then when all the information came out that, he was a scumbag, but he did not do the most extreme things that he was accused of doing, and he had proof to back it up, they didn't care. And I have not heard a single word from anyone at Screen Junkies about it. And none of them have taken any of their words back. No one's apologized. And that's the world we live in, too, is that people will say disgusting things, and then when truth comes out, they don't retract. Or if they do retract, it's on page 50. It's like all the way in the back of the paper where no one else is going to read it because that's what we have to do now.
Yep, exactly.
There's a lot of people, if you look historically, that have been accused of different things that they were proven innocent. They were proven they never did it. Their names are still joked about with those things because the retractions, the innocent verdicts and all that were buried in bottom pages.
Yep.
And it's a part of the greater culture in movies and in the Hollywood industry. And what's amazing though is that Andy Signore, who I would say was a big name in the entertainment industry for sure. I mean, he had met a lot of really big profile people, interviewed them, gone to parties and everything like that. So he knew people, and yet he gets destroyed. But then in Hollywood to this day, you cannot say a bad word about oh my God, I'm blanking out on the name now. The director that raped a teenager. Polanski. Cannot say a bad word about Roman Polanski. That dude is still a saint in Hollywood, even though there's evidence to suggest that he did a terrible thing. But nope, he's fine. We'll defend him. It's interesting to me what they'll defend and what they won't defend.
That's exactly what the Fandom Menace is fighting against, is that groupthink.
Yeah.
That, like, I've straight up, several members of the Fandom Menace I've called out. It's like, you've gone too far.
Yeah.
This is not cool.
Yeah. You've called me out on occasion, too.
Yes, I have.
Yes.
I hate.
Rightly so.
Let me explain.
Yeah.
I hate lies. I hate, as a history major, I hate narratives. When something false gets said and then it gets echoed, and it's like, okay, I'm the one there shouting at people. That's not true.
Yeah.
It's, and I hate this narrative that, I actually hate personal attacks or attacks on people's physical appearance, and I won't stand for it. I'll come at you. I don't care who you are.
The issue I have with that is the people who claim to be all about body positivity, but they're getting tons of plastic surgery and attacking other people for their looks.
Yeah. You see that happen.
That I'll call it out because of the hypocrisy in it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I think that's too, because that's when you start to get into what is it called? Ad hominem, where there's nothing to it. It's just, oh, I can say this nasty thing about you, but that doesn't actually make my argument any better than what it actually is.
Exactly.
And that's why I've always tried to, I know that I've said this name on occasion, but that's why I try and stay away from things like Ryan Roundhead Johnson, Because to me, I think that a much better approach is just to point out the flaws, the flaws in his movie, because they're there. They're so easy to point out. And at the same time, too, I know that people aren't trying to say, oh, people with round heads ought to be. No, I mean, obviously that's not what's going on. And I think it is kind of funny, too, because of it's something so little. Like it's not something that he would or anyone would ever like really take offense to, it's not saying the same thing as, oh, you're too fat, you're too skinny, or get a burger or something. Like it's obviously something where Because I think it was it EVS started that off about saying,
Yes, he did.
Oh, he's I mean, it's so perfectly round, and because I'm like, oh my god, but it's like I even try to avoid that, and I think that that's the least like problematic thing that's been said as far as body and overall image too. But even that I try to avoid when I can, because I think that there's a better way to go about it, and yeah, I've been wrong on issues before, and that's why whenever I can, I always try to correct myself. And then also too, that's one of the reasons why I'm sometimes going against people, because I remember when all the stuff was coming out about Captain Marvel tickets being bought, and I know that some people still believe that. I know that people still believe that, but I was looking at it from someone that worked at a theater and said, hold on for a second, like let's look at the data that we actually have in front of us first, and then go into why I think or don't think that this is true. I think that there's more evidence now with Disney being caught for possibly, lying about money that they've made. But even then, yeah, go ahead.
That was my argument is,
Yeah.
the way that corporations work, somebody would have leaked that out if that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because people just, they love to spill stuff on their employer.
Yeah.
It happens all the time at AT&T. We get busted for doing stupid stuff all the time. But
wasn't something recent with AT&T?
Oh, always.
I heard Jeremy said that AT&T got hacked and released a bunch of information on some celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, someone on YouTube actually even pointed out, saying that apparently YouTubers' information or celebrities' information was getting leaked, apparently.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, never a good thing.
Well, it's going to be one of those things where the information is going to come out that they bought Captain Marvel tickets. Everybody's going to just be like, "Yeah, I could see that."
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things where it's like, I don't think it's impossible, but I'd also rather have actual evidence in front of me. Like, because the biggest thing that people use as evidence was, oh my god, but this theater, it says it says that these seats are sold, but no one's sitting there. And then all I needed to do was do a quick search, talking to some people, because it was mostly, I think, in Australian theaters that this was going on in. And all it took me was a quick search of people that live in Australia, and they say, oh, no, they always do that. They always have these blacked out because they want to have them available in case it reaches capacity. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. Like, we would, sell out movies sometimes like that, too, because we didn't want people having to sit in the front row, having to, look up and crane their necks. So, you look at things like that and you start to realize, okay, so maybe there isn't nearly as much evidence. But
they were empty the entire time they ran over here too, though, and this theater doesn't do that. So I don't know.
Well, also too is that some areas do better than others, also depending on the movie, right? Because I know that I've fallen into this too with my coverage of the Captain Marvel Blu-rays, and I've always had to say, I'm not saying no one's buying the Blu-rays. I'm just saying what my own local market looks like. And I have a bunch of other people from the markets saying the same thing.
Have those sales here.
Yeah.
Because my husband's workplace has over 10,000 employees. It's engineers. And I'm talking about software, data, computer engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And there's in this city over 40,000 digital engineers of different types.
Yeah.
You're talking nerd boys here. And most geek culture stuff sells out through the roof in city here. But Captain Marvel didn't.
Yeah. And that's why, I think that it's definitely something like looking into. But the example I gave, and speaking of Captain Marvel, I mean, I have a wonderful copy right here of Captain Marvel. Once again, shout out to Bruce. And I would fling it, but my dogs are sleeping. So
I seriously, I'm going to show you how to make
I'm just gonna I'm gonna punch it. I'm gonna punch it.
Oh.
Just gonna punch it a little bit.
You can destroy that disc in a way that actually
I don't want to wake up
beautiful art
sleepy
and destroys her image and her and the data.
Yeah, but I don't want to wake up the puppies because they're precious when they're sleeping. So Little River is literally like laying on her side next to me, eyes rolled back in her head, and then you can see Willow just passed out on the orange couch.
Can I ask what it is with pets cuddling or sleeping near you constantly? Because I've got both cats on my feet right now.
It's because they feel safe. It makes them feel safe.
I mean, with cats, laying on your feet is a sign of submission, and that's not something they do often.
Yeah, no, cats especially.
But they're both there, passed out on a footy.
Yeah. No, but with the with Captain Marvel though, the point that I make in my videos is that it's just pure market saturation. If you've got 1 million copies of this, it's gonna sell more than if you only have 50 copies of it in the market. Because if something is seen more often than it's not seen, it's more likely to be sold. And it's that saturation. That's why when we look at 1.5 million units is what Captain Marvel sold so far, I actually believe that. Not because I think people are going out of their ways to buy it, because obviously the collectors aren't. I mean, the fact that you still have Captain Marvel steelbooks, no one's really collecting the movie. It just seems to me, okay, no, a lot of the normal people are just saying, oh, it's a Marvel film, I'm going to buy it. Oh my God, I walk into a Target and it's everywhere. I walk into a, and we look at that and we say, yeah, but it's a lot of copies not being sold, which is true. But it's also still a lot of people that are still buying it as well. And
there's going to be quite a few collectors who will buy it just because it's part of the Marvel series.
Oh, yeah.
Have the complete set.
Yeah.
It's it's real.
Yeah. And I bring that up because I'm going to be making a video soon about the Alita numbers because they're not as good as we thought they were going to be. The first numbers for Alita for first week is about 300,000 units.
I think part of that's the stores didn't buy enough.
That's the other thing too. And again,
like backward.
Yeah. And that's stuff that we're learning though, right? Because, it's easy for us to say, hey, we were wrong. Hey, look at that. I just admitted that I was wrong on something. It's not hard to do because when you're wrong, you're wrong. And I was wrong on what I thought I was seeing. And what I was seeing was that there were no copies left, but that's because there weren't a lot of copies in the first place. And now I know that because if it were the reverse where there were enough copies and people were just buying it so fast that they couldn't keep up, well, then the numbers would be reflecting something different. Now, we can still point to the fact that collectors do appreciate the film more because the steelbook sold out. You can't get the steelbook anywhere. But collectors are, hardcore collectors are not a large portion of the population. And they also still need to wait for the next batch of information to come out, too, because I think that it could be the case that it did well in its second week also. But
I think might a lot of second and third week here because they didn't get enough of it, and it's all of the discs were sold in the first day, and they've been backward a few weeks back.
Yeah.
So it might have those much later hits come in.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephanie B is pointing out that I said units. What's wrong with saying units, Steph? Do you have a problem with that? Is that funny? Is that supposed to be funny to you?
Do I look funny to you?
Do I look funny to you? Are you mocking me?
And Tommy says something interesting. He said, if something is crap, who cares if it completes a set? Garbage is worthless to own if you don't like it. And that's so true. Because, I mean, in my collection, I do not own Godfather 3. People keep telling me there's a Godfather 3. I think I sat through a Godfather 3.
It's not real. It's not real. No, it's not.
No, I imagined the whole thing. But seriously, I know. No. But no, I will not have that movie in my collection just to say, oh, well, I own all 3 of the Godfather movies.
I don't know the shows. That should say something.
Some collectors, yes. Some collectors, though, are, and I totally understand this because I'm this way sometimes too, are completionists where you just have to have everything. Like that's why I have the Fast and Furious collection, which is movies 1 through 6, which are the only good movies in my opinion. And yet I somehow, somewhere, and I don't remember when, bought Fast 7, which I said I wouldn't buy, but I did. Probably because it was like nothing. It was probably like $5 or something. But also because I was like, well, I guess I gotta have it. And now I'm not, obviously, because I haven't bought Fast 8. I have no plans to buy Fast 8. Not gonna buy Hobbs and Shaw because Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw because I just not worth to see. But
okay. So
sorry, random ADD. Yeah. I do have something really cool. So there was a really cool steelbook for a great film called The Big Lebowski. But look what comes with it. You probably can't see it because of the way that the webcam thing works. But on the stream, if you have it up at any point, it is The Big Lebowski steelbook with a sweater cover.
Huh?
It's got a sweater. It's got The Big Lebowski sweater.
Wow.
Covering it. And it's beautiful. It's wonderful. So if you see that at any point, it's awesome. I'm going to do a review of that on the Welcome to Asgard channel. But you see, that's a good release of a good movie.
We're not interested in watching it now. I am. Star Trek collector. I love almost everything from the original shows.
Yeah.
Up until they started making Enterprise and I started having problems with some of the lore they changed.
Mm-hmm.
And it just got worse past Enterprise. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But I bought this big box collection
Mm-hmm.
that was all of the movies that were made through the original production.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sold Nemesis. So you can't stand it.
But you need to have it. You need to have it. If you're a true Star Trek fan, you will have that one.
I hate that movie.
Oh my gosh.
I hate that movie, and no, I didn't need to keep it.
But you do. You just don't understand. Hunky Chunky, thank you. He says just Roman Reigns. Okay, cool. John Winkler. Oh, no, it's okay. I skipped buying Black Panther and Captain Marvel as their pointless entries. I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
Super appreciates the Blu-ray I showed, and Alex McCarthy continues to show why his opinion is invalid. He says, "I like Fast 7 and 8." Well, Alex McCarthy, your opinion remains invalid on this channel. How dare you?
Oh my god.
How dare you?
Is
cross
Alex
me?
trolling us or something?
No, Alex McCarthy genuinely likes these movies as he says them.
Huh.
And that's what I appreciate about Alex, is that we have very different tastes in movies, and he can sit through a lot more crap than I can, and I just genuinely appreciate that because it's just I can't do it. I can't sit through it.
No. I went in. Well, my brother, I was laughing because he's a completionist,
Mm-hmm.
and I went in one of our movie sets that we have digitally, and I said, "Why am I not surprised? He's got Captain Marvel and Endgame. Of course he does,
Yeah.
because that completes the collection."
Yeah.
So, but I'm too.
Hey, I have Captain Marvel. What are you trying to say, huh?
Yeah, but
I
you
have Captain
used it
Marvel.
to throw over
Burn
your
it.
I have Captain
shoulder and
Marvel.
burn
Huh?
it.
I have Captain Marvel. You see it? Do you hear it?
Never saw Captain Marvel. I was like, whoever it was that said that, get that off the screen. But
Pain that my throbbing down my neck now.
oh my god, no, I didn't see Black Panther. I didn't see Captain Marvel. I know someone in one of your comment sections, Odin, was going off on me and Stephanie because we said no, we didn't see Black Panther,
Mhm.
and goes into this diatribe about why we needed to see it. No,
It's
no,
culturally important. You need to see it. It's culturally
oh
important.
my gosh! But I mean, I saw Infinity War, and it was like, okay, I don't know why I would need to see Black Panther.
There was
due
no
to
need to
this.
see it. There was no need to see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Stephanie's right. Captain Maybell.
Yes.
Or
Mabel. Yes.
Mabel.
I like Mabel.
Yeah.
Captain Mabel.
That hurt. I had to see that. Now I can't even see it. You owe me, Odin.
Yep.
Can we cleanse
Let
the palate?
that haunt your nightmares for all eternity.
Oh my god.
Let's see. Alex Riley says, that's why we get along, because I'm aware that these movies are meh. Yes. Kiko Rogers says, favorite bad movie you enjoy? The Room. Hands down. ASC. Mex ASC, what's going on, dude? He says, speaking of sitting through crap, have you seen Gods and Generals all the way through? No.
No, I can't finish it, and I'm a history buff.
That says a lot right there, too. If Tina can't finish a history movie, it's not worth seeing. That's what I think.
I mean, it had good intentions, but it is so slow. And it gets off into these dialogues that just go on forever. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So
Mex says, thanks for triggering me with Captain Meh, you sicko. You're welcome, Mex. You are welcome. And Christopher Mills says, I call Captain Marvel Captain Blank Bag. That's not nice. There are better names to call her than that. Christopher Mills, there are ladies present. There are ladies present, Christopher Mills. How dare you? You're clever. You're more clever than that. But anyway, after going off on tangents, which are fun for me, any final thoughts? We'll start with Rosetta. Any final thoughts? before we wrap things up?
Well, you said I got to show off my eagle. And I
Yes.
think I figured out how to do it here. I got 3 little pictures to show.
Maybe no, I couldn't.
I click on the button.
Yeah.
I was looking around while I was sitting here.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
1 sec.
Just make sure you're not sharing anything that you don't want. There it is. Look at that. Look at that. Let me go ahead and keep it there. Let me expand that for everybody.
3 of these I'm going to
Look at that.
from this yesterday. This is Spirit. She is 34. She's one of the oldest eagles in the world right now. And here's back a little. And the close-up looking at it.
Gorgeous.
Oh, she's a doll.
Gorgeous.
Pretty girl.
Look at that face.
That was my experience yesterday. I went down to see her. She's 34. She's only a year younger than me.
That's awesome. Also, those pictures look amazing, by the way. So let us remind everyone that she took those photos because that's awesome. How close were you? Were you that close, or did you just get that?
Their little cage system they have for her, I was quite close. It was barely zoomed.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
It's right next to where she was perched.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Because I remember when you showed it to us during the pregame, I was like, oh, my God, look at that. Tina, what you got?
Yes, sir.
What you got?
I don't know. Okay, I'll top it off with this.
Yes.
I was going down rabbit holes yesterday after I watched my Fritz Lang movie, and I was running across some stuff about Marlene Dietrich, the actress. And the woman was a freaking war hero. Mm-hmm. She went to the front to entertain the Allied troops. And it was joked that she was at the front more times than Eisenhower, who was the supreme commander. Mm-hmm. But she was incredible. And I think what kind of jumped out at me was that you have these fake women today in Hollywood that think they are making such a mark. But until Brie Larson goes and entertains the troops at the front, she can suck on it.
I feel that way about most people in Hollywood who talk about anything, you know, like, oh my gosh, we don't have freedoms. And I'm like, okay, if you really feel that way, please go over to a country where you really don't have any freedoms and then come back and talk to us.
And then come back and talk to us. But Dietrich could have stayed in Germany and chose not to. She came to the United States because, like a lot of Germans, she didn't agree with Hitler. So she came over here. But the great thing was she and several other Hollywood people that had immigrated here worked to get refugees out of Germany, especially Jews.
Yeah. So
she was working for that before we ever got into the war.
Yeah.
You had people like, Carol Lombard, who was selling war bonds and died in a plane crash. Mm. You had Hollywood actors like Jimmy Stewart, who went into the military and fought. But this bunch today, I was like, oh, you all think because you made some movie and, I'm playing bisexual. Marlene Dietrich was bisexual. Mm-hmm. So, you all thinking that you're setting some kind of, look at us, it's 2019. No, I don't roll with that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, hi.
That's it.
Hi, River.
That's it.
You making an appearance on the stream? River's in my face right now, so.
Oh.
Hi. Yeah, you feeling better? Aww. You gonna unplug my headphones now? Huh? Yeah. Yeah, I love you, but you're a menace. I love you, but you're a menace.
Your thoughts were good, and my cat's interrupted like 50 times.
Yeah.
Flipped.
Yeah. She's looking back like, who are you talking to, Dad? Who are you talking to, huh? Yeah. Do you need to be in my lap? Is that what you want? I know you don't, but that's what you're going to get. There we go. There we go. There she is. Hey, everybody. My name's River. Hi. I'm going to unplug Dad's headphones. They're unplugged now. I can't hear y'all. All right, I'm back. Now I can hear. Mex said, is River looking for pencils? Yes, she's looking for something she can eat. She's always looking for something she can eat. And yes, she's feeling much better, Steph. Absolutely.
Oh, good.
But
Poor
that,
thing.
yeah, I know. It was scary because when blood's involved, we were like, oh my God, what is it? But it might have just been an ulcer because she's much better than she was on Friday. That's for sure. It was scary, but she's
Oh.
feeling better. It was so sad too because they had to do like one of those, not a sonogram, but basically they had to do like some type of X-ray, and so they had to sedate her, and so apparently she was just like out of it when she got home, and when I got home, she was still like, she was sleeping like all day, and it was so sad.
Oh,
It's cute, but it's also sad. It's like one of those things where it's like, you're so cute when you're quiet, but I know why you're quiet, and it's so sad.
poor thing.
Yeah. Laura, what you got?
Oh, I was just thinking when Tina was talking, I would love to get videos from people who love like classic movies that I may have never heard of. Introducing the video, talking about, maybe some of the backstory.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, Tina. You want to get on that? Huh?
I will think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Greta too. Greta likes a lot of
Yes.
character.
Yeah, Greta's been taking a break recently. I need to catch up with her and see how things are going because there was a lot of things going on. But I need to get back with her because she also, and actually to be honest, I want Tina and Greta to do a show. I think that would be a fascinating show because y'all both love movies and love classics, and I think y'all's knowledge would just be like an overload for the brain, and it would be in the best way possible. In the best way possible.
I know ISJWs watch classic comedies like Yellowbeard, Blazing Saddles, and stuff that are just absolutely in your face with their not PC comedy.
Yeah.
Right.
Those were the days.
I think Yellowbeard is the one that I think would offend people the most if it came back.
Yeah. And I think that you will see a bit of a comeback with that because Gary says this all the time that the stuff we're doing right now in Hollywood, everything is cyclical. Everything has a cycle to it. And I think there will be a time when eventually we will have people that will, because you see it already happening. I mean, we're in an age of nostalgia, right? We're in an age of sequels, prequels, reboots, and it's for both good and bad. And what I'm hoping happens, instead of it being stories that get rebooted, it'd be great to have genres get rebooted. It'd be really cool to see some like classic storytelling come back, but it'd be in original films and not just in reboots. So I'm hoping that eventually Hollywood drops the reboots and everything and instead focuses on, let's tell a similar style of story, but instead let's do an original, let's do an original, crime drama, let's do an original, even Westerns. Go ahead and bring the Westerns back. I mean, I think a modern day Western could actually be pretty good, but I think that would be a much better way to use everything than what they're doing right now in Hollywood, where it's just like,
I bet you the Black Hills and a lot of the old West places would actually let them film there.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And I'm sure that they would appreciate, and because especially the areas that you're near, Rosetta, I'm sure that they would appreciate the attention to actually get attention.
I grew up near Deadwood Lead and all that, the actual old West area where Wyatt Earp and Calamity Jane and all that happened, and a lot of them would love to actually get some history brought back in there and start getting more film there and more things restored.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else want to add anything in?
I did see that they're going to redo the 101 Dalmatians, but they're going to have it set in kind of a punk rock 1970s London.
I saw that too. I saw that too. To give props. All right, I got to give props on this slightly. Is the fact that at least they're going to take it in a new direction. That being said, we already have the cartoon and a sequel, and there were probably plenty of straight to DVD sequels after that. We already had a live action one, which, to be honest, I think the best physical portrayal of Cruella de Vil in, why am I blanking on her name?
Glenn Close.
Glenn Close.
Yeah.
Was great as Cruella de Vil. And now we're getting a reboot of the live action? Or I guess a retelling of the live action? Or I guess the retelling of I don't know. It's like, which one is being retold here? I don't know.
But why is this I'm back to the whole, why is this needed?
And that's where I am too, where it's like, it's cool they're going in a new direction with it, but why? You know, why? If you want to tell a story from punk era 70s, there are plenty of original stories out there that you can tell. Like, why do you have to use a concept that we already know and some people love, some people don't? And I don't know. It seems odd to me.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Disney, I don't know about Disney. I don't know what's going on at this point. I mean, on a creative level, because there are reports coming out. One of the Imaginarium, I think they call them the engineers to do the design work, where they're saying that when they were designing Galaxy's Edge, they thought it was going to be original trilogy or the original 6 movies, and they were aiming towards that. And then the Disney execs came in and said, no, Bob's seen the numbers for Force Awakens. This is going to be hot. This is going to be big. So we have to base it all on the sequels. And that's where they're at with Galaxy's Edge. But the engineer was like, no, we thought they were going for original because that's what pulls the people in. But Bob Iger also said, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Bob Iger also said we don't need to advertise Galaxy's Edge.
Bob Iger seems to be a few fries short of a happy meal.
When it comes to Star Wars, I think absolutely.
Yeah.
We had one person.
But it's like, just imagine it if you were going to open a restaurant.
Yeah.
Would you open a Mexican restaurant where you know, hey, Mexican food is popular, we know we can get a certain number of clientels, or would you open something completely original and new and take a risk that, hey, you know what? I'm putting my life savings into this restaurant. It may not take off.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like, do you have a Mexican restaurant where you don't have quesadillas or tacos? Like, that's what it is to me, where it's like, how different do you want to be?
Yeah. Well, we've seen many.
I was just talking in terms of like the reboots and the remakes. Like they know if they do a Dalmatians reboot, they've got a certain audience there.
Yeah.
People with kids are going to go see it.
Yeah.
I would say this culture of just not creative, where everything's just remake, reboot, or retelling.
Yeah.
Well, A, I cringe when I hear those terms anymore. But B, honestly, sometimes I look at this stuff, I look at the plots and what they're deciding to reboot. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but the Weird Al song Genius in France. It's like 9.5 minutes of intelligence jokes. And that's what plays in my head when I hear some of this stuff.
It's just, I don't know. I just think if Walt came back, he would be very disappointed. I mean, Iger, he's good at buying up IPs, but then it's like, okay, we got these IPs. What do we do? Oh, let's remake Die Hard. Let's remake Alien. Let's redo Home Alone. And it's like, that's not creativity. That's just, we're going to put our modern day twist on stuff. And like I was telling someone in the chat, the Germans, Hollywood thinks it's so groundbreaking these days. The Germans did a movie about gay rights back in the 1910s or 1920s.
That's the thing. I think Hollywood literally still in the 50s and 60s.
I mean, that's
I didn't know that.
Almost 100 years ago. So Hollywood thinking, oh, we're going to do this movie about gay rights. Look at us. No, the German cinema was already doing that kind of stuff 100 years ago. Learn some freaking history and quit thinking that this junk you're pumping out now is groundbreaking.
Yeah.
We
need a Tina channel.
Yes, we do. Seriously, we need a Tina channel.
You've got to do some videos. If I have nothing else, you can always hop on a stream with me when I'm ranting.
Yeah.
I love some of your rants here.
Because seriously, I think that there's a desperate need for people to be schooled. And if anyone's going to school them, it would be you.
Oh, wow.
Plus, I always love all your little additions, like everything with Captain Mabel and all just the little, I mean, it's fantastic. And I think that that's what we need. We need the old school with the new school, as they say.
Oh my gosh.
Like I'm a gay history major, and I had never heard that, But as a history major, you learn stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You do.
But don't forget, I mean, we didn't get stuff until recently. We didn't have female heroes until Captain Marvel. We didn't have a gay hero until the recent crop of Disney films that are going to be coming out. They just never existed. They just never existed.
Exactly.
If they really want to reach out to the gay community, why are they ignoring the classic Greek literature, the classic stuff from Shakespeare, Walt Whitman, Oscar Wilde, and stuff, where you could go into classic literature and get these gay characters and make unique stories about them?
Because they would rather take established characters that have no.
Because they'd rather be lazy and uncreative.
Yeah, they'd rather change someone's orientation than actually have an original story, because they. And I think it actually speaks more to them, because they don't think it would sell. That's what it comes down to. They don't think it would do well. And it's like, okay, well, if you're saying that, then aren't you kind of being a hypocrite in certain ways? It's like, hey, there's a market for your stories. There's a market for those characters. There's a market for anything. But also, too, we need to realize that characters cannot just be defined by their race or by their gender or by their orientation. That characters need to be a lot more fleshed out than that. And there are stories that are being told that are doing that, but no one's seeing them. And that's what the true sad tragedy about modern day Hollywood is that everything has become so globalized that the market's being oversaturated with crap, remake, reboots, and all the original storytelling is just flying out the window, and no one's going to see it, sadly.
I was reading the comments about Mel Brooks in chat, and he did kind of retreat to Broadway, and that's partly because he puts a lot less physically in than he used to, because he is 93. So, but it's also, he liked to push the things. Now, people talk about these things being new, and we're just groundbreaking with this. Has anybody actually watched To Be or Not to Be?
Yes.
I haven't seen it yet.
It deals with the Nazi targeting of gays in theater. This is one of his oldest movies. And it's really good, and it deals with a lot of the targeting, abuse, and killing of gays in the old days. And it did it without pushing this other side's bad or evil. They dealt with what actually happened.
Yeah. And then also, really, like, going away from orientation, but I think a story that was told recently, because I know, Laura, I know that you saw it. Was it The Best of Enemies?
Best of Enemies.
The one where it was a civil rights leader and then a Ku Klux Klansman or something, or white supremacist. And it's one of those things where it's like you're seeing both sides, and one side's wrong, but you're still seeing them like come together in certain ways too, because one is helping the other. Like, no one ever thinks of it that way, where it's like the badness and evilness of this one person's actually helping the other side get their point across. I
forgot about that movie.
I remember that you had said you had seen it, and I thought that I had remembered you saying that it was a positive, or it was a well done. Acting at least.
Yet another story I had not heard, and it was set in my home state,
Yeah, and no one saw it,
Nobody saw it?
And it's just like, these are the stories that you should be, the stories that are telling the things that you claim to want to push. But again, if you're not going to put your money behind it, and you're just going to focus on, 6 movies a year that make $1 billion, but then the whole market crashes because no one else is seeing anything else, then is it really worth it?
And that's the thing, is they made the movie dealing with the kidnappings and rapes on the reservation. Did they ever push it in media or try to get people to see it?
Nope. No one. I mean, Wind River is an amazing film, and most of you have probably not seen it.
And I guarantee you that nobody in Hollywood now would have the balls to try to take on the Warrior Women and the Sioux or the Buffalo Women. And it's a real thing. It's one of the tribes that really actually defended women being braves with the men, and really actually had a warrior tribe of women. Yeah.
And to be honest, the next thing I can think of, and it's somewhat similar to the topic we're talking about, is that on All Saints Day, of all things, you have 2 movies coming out. Terminator Dark Fate, which I said on another podcast with my friend, The Flick Pick, that, well, they're going to need all the saints in heaven if they want that movie to make any money. But the other film coming out that day is Harriet, with Harriet Tubman.
And I'm
like, I know which one I'm seeing first. And it's not Terminator
Yeah.
Dark Fate, I can tell you that much.
Right.
And that's, to me, is a story that I'm wondering if it's going to do well going up against something as big as Terminator with someone like James Cameron behind it, you know? Like, is that going to be another story that tells of a strong female character, but because it's not of the, you know, and again, it could very well be this, but based on everything I've seen so far, it doesn't seem to be. But because it's not of the preaching variety, it doesn't get the massive amount of support from Hollywood that other films would, you know?
And I was going to say, is there a chance Harriet is more of a, what they call Oscar bait movie? Okay, we don't make a lot of box office, but maybe the director or the screenwriter or the actor may get a nomination.
Yeah.
Or Golden Globe, you know.
And that's the thing, is they either do these over the top with political messaging put in to try to get Oscars, or if they do make these good movies that are unique stories, they don't advertise it, they don't push it, and then they go, look, those things don't make money. You never advertised it. Most people didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
How are they supposed to make money if nobody knows what it is and they drive by and see a sign and the sign looks weird and artistic and the name is nothing they recognize? They're going to go, nah, I'm not going to go see that. It's too much money.
It's like with also, I mean, recent films. Green Book was a great movie, and it got so much hate because one of the characters says historically accurately the N-word so many times. And it's like, they're not saying that it's okay. It's just something that character would have done.
Exactly.
And it was also a story of an actual person.
I hate that word.
That's true.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I tell you.
And also, like, to be honest, like with that story, everything was together. You know, I mean, you find out towards the end of the movie that the character being chauffeured around is gay. Like, that's not the main focus. And it's just, it was great because it helped to flesh out the character. And it wasn't just this is all this character is. And I think that it's more stories like that. It's more stories like Green Book, and hopefully more stories like Harriet, and, you know, other stories that I'm sure all of us could think of at least one, where we need more films like that, where it's going to be about good characters more so than about agendas. It'd be really nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
I keep going back to, because all these people in Hollywood keep trying to say they care about these tribes in the center of the country that are really impoverished and struggling, and yet we have tried a million times to get them to actually talk about the real issues, or get them to do anything that involves our actual history and mythology, deal with things like Crazy Horse and stuff, and they won't. They won't touch that stuff because they can't push it to be their political agenda, because when they actually get down there and deal with the tribes, they find out that most of us are, very much gun-toting hunters who are overall pro-life and pro-military, and they don't know how to handle it.
Also, someone in the we had dropping some dropping some things here. Nothing to see. But someone in the chat had asked about it. So I haven't put my Blu-rays completely out yet because we're moving in like 6 months, maybe 5 months now. So I'm like, should I put them out? Should I keep them packed up? I kind of want to keep them packed up just in case we switch houses. We do, but we're leasing. So we're not completely sold that this is going to be the house. That we're gonna try and like set up shop completely. So I'm like, I don't know how much I want to unpack. But Bruce asked, and yes, I do have Alita Battle Angel though, and it's still a beautiful, beautiful steelbook. We have a great movie with a strong female character who happens to be a female character, and then we've got this movie, and then we got her. Hey everybody, my name is Brie Larson. I'm coming into your house.
Poor Tina.
Oh my God, Tina, could you please like calm down? Oh my God, I wasn't made for you, Tina. I wasn't made for you. Versus, I will not stand by in the presence of evil. I think
The Exorcist just showed up outside my front door. My apartment would need an exorcist.
Well, now that the dogs are out of the room, there we go. It gets thrown away. Let me go ahead and shout some people out though, because I do need to go because we need to put some medicine in. I
gotta go for my
one of the puppies. So huge shout out to my Patreon backers: Albertus Magnus, animation commentator, Baptist 702, who wished he could be here today, but unfortunately the schedule just did not work out. Be Good Men, Brian P, Dion, Edward Coleman, Elizabeth M, Enrique Evangelista, Entertainment Hacker, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Weeder Dog Clan, Harold Francis, Heather Haskett, the Hunka Chunka Funkin' Monkey. Glad to see you in the chat today, Hunka Chunky. I know that it's normally your bedtime when we're streaming. Inflamed Wood, Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toone, JJ Jonathan Jerenbeck, Matthew Kadish, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin, Orange Chat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, who also wishes he could be here. He must have slept through his alarm that he was supposedly setting. But hopefully, Kyle, you're doing a fine, man. Aussie Peter Davison, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Shenglong, Sir Lancelotto, Theodore Bendon, the DJD Show, and those two bald guys. And also, huge shout out to my Subscribe Star subscribers. We've got History Girl, Tina B. Start your own channel, please. G2 Cool 99, Darkstar 57, who is on D Live, but he could have jumped in. But again, Darkstar, man, get active in that Twitter chat again. Laura Story, thank you for joining us, my modern Major General. J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Fan Addicts of Film, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, Filmy Professor, J. Rod the Beer Guru, Christian J. Murr, Texas Kayla, Rolando Scarfullery, Nevaranji Adams, Andreas, and ZK Man. Thank you very much for being there as my supporters, but also huge shout. Wait, hold on. Kyle Epos Dyer was here for a bit. He was, okay.
Yeah.
And he didn't jump on? How dare he?
He was still trying to down some coffee.
How dare he? How dare he? But seriously, Rosetta, Tina, and Laura, thank you so much for joining me. It's always fun to have these chats, and it's always...
That's more this time.
Yes, and I think that, because obviously I like when everyone has a chance to be on, but when it's a smaller group, it's a lot easier to get through and make sure everyone has equal time to talk as much as I possibly can control it. But Tina, you need to start your own channel. Rosetta, your pictures are beautiful. Thank you. And Laura, please continue to be your amazing general, major, modern self.
More photo videos being done, along with maybe some videos of animals going up in the next few weeks, because I will be in Kansas City at the zoo on Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I'll be looking forward to those. And Outpost is still here, apparently. Where was his comment? He just popped up.
What's up, Kyle? Hi, Kyle.
He says, I'm still here.
Hey, Kyle.
Kansas new in the background. Kansas new in the background?
It's new in the background.
Kansas?
Oh,
What is
it's a
Kansas?
code.
Kansas? We're not in Kansas anymore. What are you talking about? Autocorrect. Okay. I gotcha. Well, anyway. Shout out to you, good sir. Robert Frey, the throat is as good as it can be at this point. But thank you all so much for joining me today. Thanks for everyone watching on D Live over on YouTube as well. Captain Darkstar says, yes, sir. Yes, please, dude. Join us in the discussions. That way we can get you on next time, man. But anyway, thanks for watching. Huge shout out once again to Tina, to Laura, and also to Rosetta for being supportive of the channel, but also, of course, for joining me on these fun streams. So have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless.
Bye.